Okay, City Secretary, would you please read the call?
Notice of special meeting of the City Commission of the City of Brownsville. Pursuant to Chapter 551, Title 5 of the Texas Government Code, the Texas Open Meetings Act, notice is hereby given that the City Commission of the City of Brownsville, Texas, in accordance with Article 5, Section 12 of the Charter of said city, will convene a special meeting and an executive session on Thursday, February the 12th, 2009, at 5:30 p.m. and 6 p.m. in the Commission Chambers on the second floor of the Brownsville City Hall Federal Building located at 1001 East Elizabeth Street, Brownsville, Cameron County, Texas. Executive session item A, consultation with attorney on pending litigation pursuant to Section 551.071 of the Texas Government Code.
Okay, can I have a motion to go to executive session?
Actually, Mayor, I would move that we hold an executive session in public and that we have whatever presentation is going to be made by the city attorney in public so that we can let everyone at home and everyone here know what items are being presented to us.
Second that motion.
Second. Okay, we got a lot of seconds. I'm glad to hear this.
You seconded, Mr. Cisneros?
She does.
Okay. So then I guess
second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Motion carries.
I move to return and recess till 6 o'clock.
Second.
There's nothing to be discussed right now during executive session or presentations, so we'll have a motion, a second to adjourn back at 6 o'clock till 6 o'clock. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. We're adjourned till 6 o'clock. Thank you for coming, everybody. If you will please rise, face the flag. We'll have a pledge of allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Under the Texas flag, I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one nation, God, one indivisible, one indivisible.
Well, get it right. Amen.
Do we have anybody from the church here? Would you please lead us in the word of prayer?
Let's pray. Father God, I ask that your blessing be on this meeting today. Let us bring our ideas forth in a manner that will be civil, and let us see each other as brothers and sisters, even those we disagree with. Lord, we ask that your decisions be brought forth here today. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Please be seated. Ladies and gentlemen, this is a public hearing. I want to welcome everybody to our chambers. I want to express that there'll be difference of opinion expressed here tonight, and we must respect each other's difference of opinion. We're here to hopefully do the city's business here in a way that benefits our community and everyone involved on this matter. Based on that, I will ask for order that each one be recognized before allowed to speak. The public hearing, I will allow 3 minutes for people to speak. And the City Secretary, you have your timer? You have your timer, City Secretary?
Yes, I do.
We will start with the timer. Before we get started, respectfully, I want to ask the parliamentarian if it's fair for me to say this or not. Commissioner Atkinson is a federal agent. He's been a proponent of the fence. I think he has a direct conflict in participating in these proceedings, and if it's so, I think he should recuse himself. If it's not, then he should participate.
Mayor, that matter's come to my attention several times, and I've given the matter a lot of thought. And basically, my conclusion is that it's a decision that Commissioner Atkinson needs to make for himself.
Okay.
There's no legal, I can't say that as a matter of law, he cannot participate or he can't vote.
And I'll be honest with you, if I may be recognized?
Let me recognize you. Mr. Atkinson, before, just for the record, let me give you this. Okay, you're known to have gone on a Rio Grande Guardian and be a proponent of this border wall. Do you feel that you have a conflict or not, and you can proceed in this proceedings?
You can do whatever you want.
No, sir. I'm asking you, sir.
You don't preside over me. You're not my boss from work, so you conduct your meeting the way you want.
Commissioner, I'm just asking you if you feel that you have a conflict.
I don't wish
or not.
to respond to you at all.
Okay. For the record, I do feel he has a conflict, and he should recuse himself. Whether he does or not,
And
that's
if
up to him.
real quick, if you know the law with the federal government, which I've have researched, conflict of interest comes if I benefit from whatever decision I make as a customs officer for personal gain. That's when it's a conflict of interest. Anything that's happening right now, I have no personal gain, no monetary money is going to come to me voting any other way. What I do today is on behalf of the citizens of Brownsville, on behalf of my family, on behalf of a lot of people out there that elected me to do the right thing and to voice my opinion on what goes on today. And you're not going to take that away from me or them.
Sir, I'm not trying to take anything away from you. I'm just
Well,
trying.
then move on.
I'm just trying to point out a point of order, and I feel that as an agent of the federal government and a proponent of this fence, that the Homeland Security will gain a lot from. I think you have a direct conflict with this issue. But if
Based
you feel,
on what knowledge did you get that from?
Because I think Homeland Security is
You
here.
think or you know?
No, Homeland Security.
Do you think or do you know?
Allow me to speak, Commissioner.
Well, answer the question.
Homeland Security is here to obtain a contract with the city of Brownsville that will benefit them to build a fence.
Mm-hmm.
You being an agent of the federal government and being a proponent of this project, they stand to gain from it. So you're working from inside for the benefit of the federal government. So having said that, it's up to you whether you want to recuse yourself or not. I'm just pointing it out, and it's up to you, sir. I'm just pointing it out.
May I have a word?
Yeah, he's already made his choice.
May I have a word?
Okay.
Let's move forward, Mayor.
Okay.
Thank you.
Please, you need to
May I
be
be recognized, please?
Commissioner Duranic.
Mayor, I believe that we had asked that we move the executive session to the public, to have it in public. So I believe that before we get into any of this, we should have city staff, and I believe Mr. Kabler and Mr. Goodman are prepared to present what was going to be presented to us in executive right now for everyone.
If you allow me, Commissioner Trautman, I get there, but I wanted to clear this hurdle first before we even get to the presentation, because if it's in the best interest of the commissioner to recuse himself, I wanted to give him that opportunity.
Obviously, that's
If
his
he
own
feels-
decision.
If he feels it's not, well, then he's entitled.
I
It's
have
up
one
to
more
him.
thing to say.
Then let him and let's move forward.
I have one more thing to say. All I got to say is this, how he can say I'm a proponent of this when he's in Mexico with the media saying that I oppose the wall. I mean, I've come to a conclusion that I cannot go to Mexico because he's made it a situation in Mexico and Matamoros that we all oppose this wall, but we all want to vote. No, we all for the wall, and he knows we're against the wall. All right, I have CBP right here. I oppose the wall, and I'm sure there's a lot of officers that work with me that oppose the wall. But that doesn't come into what's happening tonight with DHS coming to the city and wanting to make concessions with the city. We're here to listen, see what they're offering, and that's what we're here about. I mean, if he's going to make it political, you know, he made a statement today on that we're on our knees with the federal government. You know, and I resent that because I missed 2 years of my life with the federal government by getting fired because I fought the federal government. For him to say that I'm going down on my knees to DHS, the only person on their knees, the only person on their knees right now is the mayor at the DA's office, pleading for his day in court and to stay out of jail. No, I'm staying.
Okay, hey. He can say whatever he wants.
Or you?
I'm not gonna let him ruffle me. I was trying to give him the
We move on.
opportunity
Move on
to
then.
to recuse himself if he wants to recuse himself. Please, let's conduct this in an orderly manner. You will be recognized. The commissioner has already decided. He feels like he doesn't have a conflict of interest. He wants to proceed. Okay. Now, let's go forward. Now, we have a presentation.
Mayor, can I be recognized?
Commissioner Trent?
May I? I'd like to let everybody know that due to the efforts of the city commissioners, the city manager, Mr. Willett, our hired attorney, and Congressman Ortiz in his office, we are in a position to reevaluate this entire situation. You are going to hear a few things that will surprise you and hopefully make this a very, very good day. Now, we had continuous conversations and have had continuous negotiations with DHS. We have, through the efforts of Commissioner Camarillo, Commissioner Atkinson, myself, Congressman Ortiz, Commissioner Garza, contacted Solomon Ortiz's office, and they have in turn contacted the new Secretary of Homeland Defense, Ms. Napolitano, and we have learned that from Marco Lopez and also from Noah Kroloff, the Chief of Staff for Ms. Napolitano, that the DHS and CBP were unaware of the ultimatum that was provided to us by the negotiating team that has been working with the city of Brownsville, that they were unaware of the deadline or that this meeting was occurring in Brownsville. And once the congressman's office spoke with Ms. Napolitano's office, they are now attempting to set up meetings for us, the City Commission, in Washington for the last week of February to discuss the situation. And Congressman Ortiz has sent an email to the Secretary and to her subordinates at CBP, and they are asking that, if I may, and I'll just read this. Congressman Ortiz was on a telephone conference call with Secretary Napolitano's Chief of Staff, Noah Kroloff, and the Chief of Staff for Customs and Border Protection, Mario Lopez. Congressman Ortiz raised your concerns about the ultimatum issued to the city of Brownsville to agree to provisions for a temporary fence along the river between the Gateway Bridge and B&M Bridge. According to the DHS officials, they are unaware of any ultimatum, agreement, or deadline issued. Additionally, Congressman Ortiz is in receipt of your letter requesting a meeting with Secretary Napolitano and DHS officials in Washington, D.C. during the week of February 23rd through 26th of this year. Additionally, Congressman Ortiz has requested the Secretary Napolitano and her staff assist in preventing any withdrawal of the right of reversion, which would mean that we would get the property back, and to stop the building of any fencing on the lands in 019 currently in possession of the DHS until he has had the opportunity to meet with the Secretary and DHS staff personally. We will get back to coordinate a time convenient for all parties during the last week of February. Please do not hesitate to let me know if you have any further questions. We have been in continuing negotiations. We continue to understand that the federal government has national security interests, but we as a community have interest in maintaining our own future, our own economic development, and our projects in place, and keeping the integrity of our community, physically, emotionally, and in every other manner. I appreciate your time, and I think that based on what we have here, that we're going to meet with the Secretary, we are going to continue with efforts, and we are going to continue to communicate with you. I appreciate everyone who has contacted me over the last several weeks, and we have attempted to disclose as much information as we could up until this point. There is a continuing dialogue, and only through a continuing dialogue can we get something that will at least benefit our community. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Trani. Okay. In all fairness, then, since Commissioner Trine started, I'd like for Commissioner Leo Garza, do you have a few words to say?
I concur 100% with Mr. Triani has said, and yes, I have been also involved in some of the talks. I even wrote a letter to the congressman and asking for his support and in Washington. And anybody wants a copy of the letter, it's right here. We have to look at the whole picture and mainly what's the best thing to do for Brownsville. We're not interested in other parts of the country. We're interested in Brownsville. And I like what I'm hearing, and I support the commissioners. I want to thank Charlie Calber. I want to thank Commissioner Triani. Commissioner Triani has worked very, very hard on this issue, and I appreciate on a personal level what you've done, Commissioner. I know Commissioner Camarillo has also been involved, Commissioner Longoria, Cisneros, and Commissioner Atkinson. We, the commissioners, are united. We have invited the mayor many times to participate in discussions with us and DHS, and he has chosen not to do that. We are here to tell you the truth. We have not held private meetings, negotiations behind anybody's back, and it was our idea to have this in open session so you can know exactly what it's all about. So I also do not appreciate the mayor's remarks putting down the commissioners, not only on the U.S. side but in Mexico. I am also afraid to go to Matamoros because of what the mayor has said about us, the commissioners, that we're in favor of the wall, and that's not the truth. I wish the mayor would consult with me before he says anything about me as an individual and us as commissioners. And anybody has any questions, I've already given you my phone number. I'll give it to you again. It's 956-592-3734. I'm available to talk to you day or night. I will meet with you. I have met with many people. And, the bottom line is we're going to do what's right for the city of Brownsville, and we're going to set aside personal matters, Whether the mayor likes me or not, it's irrelevant. That's not what's important. It's what's right to do the right thing for the city of Brownsville. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Atkinson.
All I want to say is I appreciate Charlie Kabler, John Chosey, the city staff, and seriously, Commissioner Triani, thank you for your continued efforts with DHS. And we're at a stage now that we may get to meet with the higher-ups in Washington and get a dialogue that they know that we are concerned for the people of Brownsville, where we want to be economically with our East Loop, where we want to be with our downtown revitalization. But none of this could be without continued conversations, continued dialogue. We could be like the mayor and just say, no, give me liberty or give me death type of attitude. That fence would have been up if all of us shared the same sentiment. It would have been up already. But because we've reached out and reached back with DHS to try to come to some type of agreement, compromise, something, so they don't kill our economic future down here. I appreciate them coming to the table today. It's hard for them to walk in here too and face a lot of people who are opposed to it, and we're all opposed to it, But I thank you, Commissioner Triani. I know you've been getting a lot of heat, and it's not right what the mayor has put forth. And I'm the type of person who I will back you up 100% if I know somebody's picking on you or somebody's belittling you, and I'd rather him hit me. I'm the type of guy, Mayor, come at me. Leave these guys alone because these are good commissioners. They have the city's interests at heart. And for somebody to spin at issues to avert his own personal issues, it's unjust. And it's not fair for you all to be here and witness one-sided stories in the media when there's a lot of commissioners here that are going to do the right thing for you all at the end of the day. And that's all I got to say about that.
Thank you, Commissioner. You're welcome to clap if you like.
No,
Okay, Commissioner Longoria.
If you don't mind, as I usually do, I'll do mine in Spanish. Para la gente que nos está viendo en la televisión y para lo que, si Dios quiere, va a salir en los medios de comunicación. El comisionado Troiani, en conjugación con nuestro congresista y nuestro amigo el congresista Salomón Ortiz, nos han conseguido una audiencia con la nueva directora del Departamento de Seguridad Interna en Washington para los fines de febrero, Dios quiere, mediante primeros de marzo, para ir a poder discutir las concesiones que se habían arreglado, los arreglos que ya se habían hecho, de los que ellos no sabían que iban a ocurrir. A nuestros hermanos de la República Mexicana les pedimos de una manera de lo más humilde que no escuchen, que no hagan caso a comentarios que se han hecho. Esta comisión no está a favor de un muro. Ninguna persona de los 7 que estamos aquí, incluyendo el alcalde de esta ciudad, estamos a favor de un muro. Todos queremos que se resuelva esta situación, que nuestra comunidad salga adelante y que se evite la construcción de un muro. Por eso nos presentamos aquí frente a ustedes hoy, dándoles las explicaciones que quieren escuchar. Le agradezco que nos dé la oportunidad de poder ofrecer nuestra versión de lo que es nuestra opinión y lo que, como la persona elegida para este puesto, se puedan dar a la comunidad. Una vez más, gracias por la atención a la gente que está aquí presente y la gente que nos está viendo en sus casas, y que sepan que esta comisión está haciendo todo lo posible para evitar a que se construya un muro dentro de lo que es nuestra ciudad. Esa es nuestra responsabilidad y eso es lo que estamos haciendo. Muchas gracias una vez más y que Dios los bendiga.
Thank you. Commissioner Cisneros.
Thank you, Mayor. I too want to thank, first of all, let me thank each and every one of you for being here today. There's a very historical issue, important issue for all our citizens in Brownsville. I want to thank all our staff, Mr. Kapler, everyone that's worked real hard on this issue, Commissioner Troiani, and all the commissioners for standing up for what's right. We are opposed to the wall. We're opposed to any construction, anything that even symbolize anything that they would do to divide us down here. But we are going to have our day with Janet Napolitano and with President Obama's administration. I want to thank Congressman Ortiz. He has worked real hard. We've all been in constant communication, sending them letters. I too send a letter to the congressman. I sent one to our representatives, state reps, Senator Eddie Lucio, our state rep, Eddie Lucio III, and and Rene Oliveira. We oppose this 100%, and there's power in numbers, guys. So we're here to lead the pack. We're here to lead, but we encourage you to continue standing up for what you believe is right. So we will fight. I want to thank Ms. Elizabeth Garcia as well for meeting with us a couple of weeks ago, and everybody involved with CASA. Commissioner Troiani and I met with them as well, just to inform them of what we were doing and what was coming down the pipeline. For the record, I would like to read the letter that I wrote to all our representatives. It says, "Dear Congressman Ortiz, on behalf of all our constituents, I'm writing to seek your support with leaders in Congress who will speak with Homeland Security Secretary Janet Napolitano and President Obama to stop the construction of the border fence along sectors 0-19 and 0-21. As you know, a portion of sector 0-19, City of Brownsville's property, as well as sector 0-21, which applies to the anticipated East Loop project, has already been condemned by DHS. DHS has already obtained ownership through condemnation and has given the city an ultimatum. If the city does not agree to the offer currently on the table, DHS will seek possession of the city properties.
As a result, the city will lose any chance of regaining ownership of these properties, and the fence will be a permanent fence placed on all of sectors 0-19 and 0-21. More importantly, we will lose the ability to pursue two very important economic development projects: the planned downtown revitalization project and the East Loop Corridor project. I am opposed to the border wall concept as proposed by DHS and humbly ask for your support and assistance in arranging for a meeting with Secretary Napolitano in order to present our community's case. I await your response and continued support. Sincerely, Carlos A. Cisneros, City Commissioner, District 3. And this is a message that we have been sending and talking and continuing to fight for each and every one of you. I do, sadly, it is true that the mayor does go and make comments in the media and tries to speak on our behalf and tries to tell the public for whatever political reasons or whatever you're doing, Mayor, but it's just wrong. And the people that have called me, I appreciate that, because once you get to talk to me, you know where I stand. So the fight's not over. We will continue to fight. We will continue to support you, and you can make sure that we will continue to do what is right for the city of Brownsville and our citizens. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Cisneros. Commissioner Camarillo.
I want to, before I give my statement, I want to thank Mr. Cavler for all your work, Rachel and the staff, Mr. Chosey, thank you for all your work, Mr. Goodman, Mr. Willette. Appreciate you all working as a team, working for the citizens of Brownsville, but for the commission and bringing us to where we are today. I also want to give a lot of credit to Commissioner Troiani. You have, as mentioned, you have taken a lot of hits, but you've done all that you could, and I think that's what many of us have done. When groups claim or say that one of the commissioners, this is their wall, that's a shame and that's a sad thing to hear. When our current president voted in support of the wall, we didn't say it was his wall, but we take an outside group that's supposedly mission is to help the people that are affected by the border wall, yet they go and they claim it's someone else's wall. I don't agree with that. I lose respect for that, for the individual who claimed that. And I want you all to know that that's the worst thing to do. This thing doesn't have to be politicized. You know, one of the things I take from this is growing up, I would walk from my parents' house near Russell to Hope Park, and I would look over the Rio Grande River and just take in the beauty of the trees, the water, and the air. And as I drive by Sam Pearl, and as I drove by the campus today, it just makes me think that a lot of this didn't have to go the way it did. We didn't have to get to today with all the negative politics and all the different things that were being said about myself or whoever, the rest of the commission. We didn't have to get to that. I always tell people that, you know, and I get this, Commissioner Troiani, that, you know, so easy to do the right thing, and so often a lot of people don't do that. And we see that here, and I think we've just seen that in the papers and the news today. And so what could have been done, the leadership that I think should have been the right leadership, was that we have an issue, we have a possible agreement that needs to be brought to the table for consideration, possibly action. That wasn't the deal. The deal was there's a deal, and there's a select few that are trying to make this deal behind certain people's backs, behind the community's backs, for what? For their own benefit. What do I get out of a wall near Hope Park in my district? Nothing. I get nothing. It's not fair to the city, it's not fair to the commissions, it's not fair to you, the people that we represent, the people that we do care about, believe it or not. At times when we can't even sleep, it's been hard to sleep these past few nights because I know that we've had to make a decision that not only affects this community, but affects everybody in California and across this country. And I take that with me every night. And I realize that we don't have to be put into that position and that there are other options and ways of means to go about to address an issue to make an outcome best for all of us. On Tuesday, I don't know what I was thinking, but I decided to write a letter. This is probably the first letter I've ever written any public official, and it went directly to Congressman Ortiz. And I didn't know what the impact would be. I was telling one of the commissioners, I wrote it as one of those, just do it, see what might happen. Little did I know that it'd have an impact. And I'd like to take the time just to read it. It's pretty short. It's Dear Congressman Ortiz, I'm seeking your support to gather additional congressional leaders to speak with Department of Homeland Security, Janet Napolitano, to halt the construction of the border fence along Sector 19. As you know, Sector 19, the City of Brownsville's property, has already been condemned by DHS. DHS is forcing the City of Brownsville to give up ownership for its property on Thursday, February the 12th. DHS has given the city an ultimatum, which is either DHS to place a temporary fence at no cost to the city would regain ownership of its property when it places a cemented levee along the riverfront of the property, so that future developments can be maintained. Or vote against a resolution, and DHS will build their wall and take ownership of the city's property forever. This does not seem fair to the city, nor to the residents of this community. As your city commissioner for this area, it is my mission to help stop the development of the border wall and end the closed-minded thinking of the past administration. The residents of my district do not need a wall or a fence along Cole Park to B&M Bridge. Instead, they need their jobs and quality of life restored. This part of the city needs a heavy truck corridor, East Loop project, and a downtown riverfront development project, which will bring you jobs, employment opportunities to make this area a nicer place to live. In addition, these two projects will improve the overall quality of life in the Rio Grande Valley. Our world has seen believable change for the first time in history by electing Barack Obama as president. Today's future holds much more for the people of Brownsville than a border fence. If I had the power in this country, this country would not have a border fence in any part of our borders. Congressman Ortiz, I need your help, and my people need your support in speaking with DHS Secretary Napolitano to halt the border fence. Additional time is needed to understand the action the city is required to take, as well as for the community. I think that this is an important issue that needs immediate attention. Thank you for your support and all that you do for this country. Sincerely, Edward C. Camarillo, City Commissioner, District 4. I read you that because one does not know what a letter could do. And it's not just because it's me. It's because all of the emails that I received throughout today and yesterday and the day before that, they all make sense. Whether they came from folks in Brownsville, from folks in Idaho, to California, they made real sense. And so none of us want to see a wall. All of us want to work towards a good, viable solution. And I hope we will get there. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Camarillo.
Mr. Mayor, may I have,
No, I already gave everybody the opportunity, and now it's my turn if it's okay, okay? First of all, Mr. Chosey, have you ever notified me of any meeting that you all were going to have with DHS?
It hasn't been my job, Mayor, to notify meetings. We've had very few meetings directly with DHS.
But any of those meetings, you personally did not notify me of any meeting?
No, sir, I did not.
Now, City Manager, and I know what you're going to say, but I'd be very careful how you say it and what you say.
What was that, Mayor?
What
was that?
No, I'm asking.
What was that, Mayor?
I'm asking. No, I didn't mean it
Mayor,
that way.
that sound like
Let me
something
ask
you
the
did.
question. Let me ask the question. Let me ask the question. The reason I'm asking it this way is because you notified me of a meeting in Harlingen. Do you recall that meeting?
I recall.
May I have the floor? May I have the floor?
First, let me.
No, if
It's
you
my
want to start.
turn. The
Why don't you
city
talk to
manager
Mr. Goodman?
notified me of a meeting in Harlingen, which I attended, okay? Have you since then, don't mix it up, have you since then notified me of any other meeting, city manager?
I do not recall notifying anyone on the commission of any meetings.
Thank you.
that
But
were
the meeting in
gonna-
Harlingen, you did notify me.
If you say I did, I did.
Yes, sir, you
I
did.
don't recall.
That's the only meeting I recall, that's
but
what I said.
My door's open. The advantageous to you is that you have an office at City Hall, not far from me. You can walk into my office and discuss any topic at any time with me.
That's right, sir. And I appreciate that. Thank you. That's what I meant by this. Okay. Now, a month ago, when I found out that there was some negotiations going on, I did ask to be notified. Did I not, Mr. Chosey?
Mayor, what I remember was that you said that any city commission meeting you wanted any city commission meeting dealing with any of these things to have at least 2 weeks' notice.
Yeah.
That's what I
For this
recall.
coming up, yes.
That's what I
wanted to be kept informed as to what's going on regarding this. Did I not ask that?
Mayor, the only thing I recall is about 2 weeks' notice on meetings.
For the record, I never knew of any meetings that took place. I never participated in any meetings.
6 months ago.
But just for the record, okay. Now, let me go on.
No,
Now,
Mr. Mayor,
let me-
hold on. You're
it's
not gonna
my-
have the
it's
last
my
word,
tur-
sir.
Gentlemen, it's my turn. You had your turn.
You wanna have the last
No,
word,
no,
sir?
no, you have the opportunity to address.
Well, you're making some
No,
innuendos here, you're
this
making
is
some
not a debate.
accusations.
Let's go on. Let me give me my opportunity to
You
state
have
what I wanna
spoken.
say. Okay. Okay. I agree with Commissioner Cisneros. There's power in numbers, okay? And I also agree that the fight should not be over. He said the fight is not over. But the fight will be over if we sign this contract with DHS. I think the Texas Border Coalition has done a tremendous job by bringing in the numbers. All the municipalities from El Paso to Brownsville united against the border fence, okay? And based on that unity, I think we have managed to stall the construction of the fence in Cameron County. And I think we have made a difference. And based on that unity, they have worked to get a meeting set up with Neapolitano early March. And they have worked with our congressional delegation, which has produced this letter that Congress sent to try and get the administration to review the border fence. It didn't just happen. It happened through the Texas Border Coalition with the support of all the citizens that opposed the fence, all the organizations like CASA, Valley Interfaith, and everybody else that was opposing the border fence. I think because of that, we're here today. Otherwise, the fence would have already been built. Now we must weigh very, very, very carefully. I believe that in numbers, we can get a better deal than what we got right now. I believe by following the process, we can get a better deal than we have now. Because I think if you take into account that we have a lawsuit filed in Washington, we have amicus brief that we joined with El Paso before the Supreme Court that hasn't been heard. And by getting and following the process and getting to court, I think we can get a better contract with the federal government if we have to build a fence and where we have to build a fence and who's got to pay the fence. Because the way it is, and the way I understand it, because I asked for the contract yesterday and still it was not finished, according to Mr. Chosey, it still needs some work on it. So none of us have seen the final product. But I think, based on what I understand of the contract, it will allow us to remove what they call a floating wall. But that floating wall is costing like $14 million a mile. And we have to pay for that. And you're talking about 7 miles. That's equal to 98 million today's dollars. That's not including removing the wall, if we have to pay for removing the wall, or buying property to build a new wall. So we're talking maybe about $200 million. Where is the city of Brownsville going to get $200 million to relocate a wall when we can't even afford to patch potholes in the city of Brownsville? The past 2 years, we've been dipping into our reserves to balance the budget. So I think we're fooling ourselves by believing that we can move a temporary wall in the future. We have bought time. We have a new administration, I think, which gives us hope, okay, to reassess the situation and perhaps come up with a different policy and hopefully even eliminate the wall. But I believe that there hasn't been true consultation with municipalities along the southwest border region, and I believe that because of that, they're trying to ram out this wall down our throats. I believe we should meet with Neapolitano before we even consider any kind of contract, because then after, it's a moot issue. Why visit with it? Eagle Pass is a good example. Eagle Pass entered into an agreement with DHS to allow them to build a wall. After the agreement was signed, they breached the agreement. And Eagle Pass had to sue, and is suing because they did not keep the word. I do not trust Homeland Security to keep the word under this contract. It was stated here that they know that we were being given a deadline, ultimatums. Doesn't that scare you? that if Neapolitano and her people did not know we were being offered ultimatums down here, that we have to sign something this week, when we haven't even reviewed the contract or studied it in depth or had other people, experts, reviewing and study the contract. That scares me. We're plunging into something based on what I think amateurs here, including myself, are saying or proposing. I think we should be given the time to really analyze this contract before we sign it. I think the fact that this commission is divided has sent mixed signals and makes us look weak. The whole country is looking at us. This is a historical moment. And a lot of people are going to be affected by our decision. You're talking about the ecological corridor that we have here. People that are fighting for this, for us, will be weakened if we sign this contract. You're talking about other cities that are looking at us and depending on us to hold the line. If we sign this contract, they're going to be weakened. This is not about us only. We should stand united and fight till the very end. This is not a good contract. Everyone has a stake here, and we must listen to them, because our decision will affect everybody. A few months ago, I told the commission here the football stadium deal was a bad deal. And I was proven right. And I'm telling you right now, this is a very, very, very bad deal. And I would hate to be proven right later on at the expense of the citizens. I think we should be cautious. I think we should rely on experts. I don't think we should plunge into something just because somebody gave us an ultimatum when their own superiors don't even know they gave us an ultimatum. Our historical corridor, archaeological corridor, our agricultural corridor along the river will be affected. Our Riverwalk development will be affected. And these are points of argument and defenses if we get into the federal court on this issue to reach a resolution that's acceptable to both of us, because there are huge damages to pay should they build the fence by force, and we're proven right in a court of law. I think we should pursue those damages, then allow them to build the wall by signing this contract and making us moot, insignificant. This contract is divisive. I think we should be united in urging this new administration to come up with a more humane legislation for reform in immigration. I think that's what we should be focusing on. The city should reject and unite for the right reasons. This is not about Pat Ahumada and the commissioners. This is about our city. Let us go into the judicial system, use it, follow it, and make sure we get the best deal that we could possibly get, and not something that's being dictated to us, and something that we cannot rely on that they will keep the agreement, and something that will be so costly that even if we want to relocate the wall, we cannot. With that, I will ask that the presentation be put. Who's going to be put the presentation here in favor of this project? Mr. Chosey.
Should you want to make comments?
Well, based on
Please,
information.
you gotta be recognized.
Have you recognized?
Could you tell people to turn their cell
Okay,
phones off?
Mr. Chosey, I recognize you. Are you going to put a presentation?
It has been my, we can if the
It is,
commission
it
desires.
is.
I'm sorry.
Mayor,
We
did you
can't-
say that you want us to present something in favor of what?
No, if y'all have something to present about this contract, any presentation?
Based
may I
on the information that we've received, we request that we tally a vote on this issue.
Okay. So you don't want to say anything about the contract to the citizens? Okay.
No, I agree with the city
May
manager.
Yeah, go ahead.
I'll recognize Commissioner
Thank you very much. There's no contract, folks. I haven't seen a contract. I don't know what the mayor's talking about. I We are negotiating, and at this time, with all due respect, I make a motion that we adjourn and continue negotiations.
So there's no agreement being presented here
I'd like to make a
tonight?
comment.
Not after the comment from Congressman
Wait a second.
Ortiz.
Let me recognize y'all.
Okay, can I be recognized?
I understood we had to sign an agreement by the end of this week, based on what you told me, City Manager.
Obviously,
Let the city manager speak.
Commissioner Triani brought on the developments we've had in negotiating with Salomon Ortiz and conversations he's had with the Secretary of Interior's office. And thus, based on that, we want to continue our efforts to negotiate and meet with them about this fence.
Okay, so there's nothing to be presented here tonight.
We are requesting that we continue negotiations with.
There's no authorization being given tonight to sign any.
That's what
Mayor,
he's been telling you since we
Mayor,
started.
can I have the floor? Can I have the floor? The answer is no. The answer is no, Mayor, and that's what we're all talking about. We don't know what you're talking about. You keep talking about this contract. There's no contract. Through our efforts and through Commissioner Triani's efforts and through Congressman Ortiz's efforts, who has stepped up to the plate, we have stalled. They have given us more time. We have, it's a battle, but we won this battle because there's nothing here to present, and you keep talking about there is something in there.
This is
Let me
amazing.
say something.
Hey, please.
Mayor, we're all united.
Let him speak. Let him speak.
Can I have the floor?
Let him finish, please.
Let me finish.
Let him
Yeah,
finish.
well, what I want to say is that, you keep talking about that we're divided. We're not. We're all united. We're all trying. We've all sent letters in support of no wall. We're all working. We have real strong efforts. Our city manager, staff, everybody. So you keep talking about this deal. You keep telling the media that something's done. We don't know what you're talking about. There's nothing, Mayor.
Can I have the floor?
Go ahead.
Mr. Atkinson, you can have the floor.
Yes, let me just enlighten everybody out here. There is an option for us to consider. But based on just
He said there was nothing.
Wait a
over
minute.
here. He doesn't know what I'm talking about.
Wait a minute. Let me finish.
Let me
There's options, but there's no
Let me finish.
deal. There's no deal.
Let me finish. There's no agreement of
There's no
anything.
agreement.
You're picking words, Mayor. There is listen to me.
Draft
Let
from
me
the
finish.
city attorney.
There's an option on the table that personally I wish y'all could see, but based on the last few hours, listen to me. Based on the last few hours with their superiors, CBP and DHS superiors notified Salomon Ortiz an hour and a half ago that they had no idea that a meeting was taking place today. That's why he's saying there is no deal. But there was an option 2 hours ago preparing for this meeting and a presentation to be given to y'all. But in light of the superiors of DHS, what was his name? Marco Lopez, and the chief of staff for Nepal, whatever her last name is.
Noah Kroloff, chief of staff.
They had no idea. They had no idea that this meeting was taking place today. So, in light of
Commissioner,
what they're saying, where they want to bring us for a meeting, we should table this until they know what's going on, until they figure out what type of option was given to the city. There's a bottom line management and a top line management. Top line management is telling us 2 hours ago that they had no idea what was going on down there. Therefore, we have to respond in a sense to give them an opportunity to meet with them. As of 2 hours ago, that's where we're at.
Can you vote?
Huh?
Can you vote?
We can
Just
vote,
second,
but
just second.
This is a
No.
public hearing. We'd have to close the public hearing first. First, let people keep hearing. Wait a second. I was thinking I was in the Twilight Zone here or something. I didn't know.
Mr. Mayor,
If
You're
I
always
may,
in the twilight
just
zone.
as a matter of parliamentary procedure, if there's a motion to adjourn, that takes precedence over
Okay.
everything.
I'm going to make a motion to close
We
public
gotta have a
hearing.
motion to close the public hearing, no?
Yes.
I'll move to close public hearing.
Motion to close the public hearing?
Second.
They want to be heard.
Well, I refrain. I don't mind listening. I don't mind. I retract that. I retract my motion if somebody wants to talk. But know what we're talking about.
Since y'all got dressed up to come to this meeting, I think we have a public hearing here. Now, let me there's so many of you here, we don't have to be here till midnight. Can we shorten this up maybe by selecting 5 of each side? Would that be fair enough to you all?
Did you read the rules?
Okay, well, if you want to stay here to midnight, I'm open. Okay, who is against? I mean, who's for the wall?
Nothing to speak about, though.
Who is for the wall?
Mayor,
Okay, who
Mayor.
wants to speak for the
Nothing to
wall?
speak about.
Mayor,
Okay, you want to speak for the
Give me a
wall?
sec.
Come forward
Mayor.
Give me a
here.
second. Can I have the word, please?
Go ahead, John.
Can I have the word?
It's a public hearing.
Yes, I know, I understand that. People are going to come up and speak, and they have a right to be heard. I understand that. What exactly are they going to speak on in lieu of the new... Give me a second, hold on. In lieu of the new information, the public comment that was posted on the agenda and the language that is on the agenda differs from that of any public comment to be given. So, legal, what in essence are we having a public comment section on when the action item that we have before us obviously has changed?
Commissioner, the idea of the public comments, of the public hearing, was that staff was going to present what had been negotiated with Homeland Security. And then when we completed the presentation, the public could comment on the presentation that was made. Now, staff apparently is not going to, well, there's no, in view of the developments that have been reported by the commissioners, in my opinion, there isn't much point in the staff presenting what's been worked out so far. And so if you wanted to have a public hearing, it would be, I guess, on the wall in general.
Okay.
But it certainly wouldn't be on the item that was going to be presented for action.
But the commission agreed to allow the public hearing to go forward, so we're going to allow
Yes.
the public hearing
But
to
let
go
me,
forward.
may I ask?
Yes.
If we're gonna do that, I would request for y'all to look at the presentation then.
But there's no presentation.
There's no presentation,
But
Charlie.
it's,
Well, what
there's
they're,
no,
Let's hear the presentation.
there's no
There is
presentation.
no presentation.
There is no
Charlie.
presentation. We cannot do something, there's
You
no
agree?
agreement. There's nothing.
Mr. Goodman?
There's no presentation because there's
Mr.
no
Willett,
agreement.
Mr. Willett, you can have the podium. Okay, Mr. Willett's going to
Charlie.
speak on what was being proposed.
No.
Okay, go ahead.
No.
In light of the fact that the developments that Commissioner Triani has explained to us, to the public as well as to the commission, there's no reason to make a presentation because the presentation will most likely not be the same after these meetings in Washington are going to take place. So there is no reason to address anything tonight. There's no reason to make a presentation tonight. But that if and when this issue comes back, if there is another agreement to be voted on, if this issue comes back, another public hearing will be called, everybody will have their opportunity to make any presentation or any public comments that they want. But at this very moment, the presentation that would have been made tonight very likely will most likely not be the same presentation that would be made in the public later, if at all. So there is no reason to have any public comment unless somebody wants to say something that's totally unrelated to the presentation or what they've heard already tonight.
That's what I would
That would
ask.
be up to the commissioners.
Open to the people.
There's no public.
City Manager,
Mr. Mayor, we have not gotten out of executive session, and if you're going to allow a public hearing, I need to read that into the record.
okay, read that into record, please. Okay, but before you read that, City Manager and City Attorney, if there is any meetings with DHS, I want written communication with me by email to let me know, if possible, what it is, so I can participate. I would appreciate that.
So it'll be written communication to all commission.
Thank
Mayor
you.
and the commission.
I appreciate that.
If that's what you're asking for.
Well, I'm asking for me. I want to make sure I know of any meeting that takes place with DHS or anything have to do related to the border wall or the downtown development.
what about the
That's not
6-month
a
letter?
problem. We'll email you too. We'll mail you.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
The letter, Charlie, that was sent to him 5 months ago telling him about February.
Well, I don't think the issue about this fence has been a secret. If nobody knew about this issue with the fence and the fact that the city has been working on it ever since we were notified of a fence issue, well then,
It's no secret, but we can't read minds and know when the meeting's gonna take place and who's gonna be at the
Well,
meeting, so.
remember
I
that,
just
remember that not all of you can go unless you call for a meeting, which is what we're doing now.
Okay.
Because you violate
Meetings
issues
Act.
of the Open Meetings
But
Act.
as mayor, I think as mayor, it's my role to be at those meetings, so I appreciate if you let me know.
Can I make it real quick? I promise, I'll just make a real brief comment. My comment is the following. We have been through situations with yourself as the representative of the city, as the mayor of the city. What happens is this, and I will ask for a very brief roll call. Commissioner, place A, raise your hand. At large A. Commissioner B. Commissioner District 2. Commissioner District 3. Commissioner District 4. Commissioner District 1. Ladies and gentlemen, check the record of votes that go on in this city commission. This is the majority voting members of the city commission. There is no separation in this city commission. Now, when meetings occur in Washington, in Austin, in Mexico City, and you as a mayor of this city go and speak in representation of this city committee, there is an obvious violation because this committee, this commission has not agreed. It has not given you the authority to go and speak on its behalf. We need to go. We need to post legally and go as a united commission to post, but not meetings with yourself before the city commission. We need to go in together and make our request together. I respect the Texas Border Coalition and their efforts and everything that they have done. But when you go as a representative of the city of Brownsville, please make sure that you're going with members of this city commission and not by yourself acting as its representative when you do not have the legal right to go and represent this body. You are the mayor, but you do not have the right to go and enter into any kind of agreement with anybody, be it at a state level, at a federal level, in the United States, or in Mexico.
And I agree, I have no right to enter into any agreement, and for him to presume or
I'm not presuming, I'm stating facts.
perception that I've entered into any kind of agreement on behalf of the city without the permission is not true. As the highest elected and executive officer of this city, I do represent the city in my travels of wherever I go. I am the ambassador of the city, and I do speak for the city. Now, the commission, for me to call special meetings, I mean, that's ridiculous. It's just unheard of. By charter, I am the representative of the city, and I will continue to represent the city. But if there is something to be agreed on, I assure you, I would not ever commit the city into something without the commission approval. Now, you're right. You pointed out your 6 votes here, and you're the majority, and I respect that. And I'm glad that you gave me the opportunity to vote again after a year, that you took my right away, and you've taken my right away to put things on the agenda as mayor, which I think goes against the people of Brownsville that elected me to represent and bring things to the table. But that's a separate issue.
Have you ever called me to
That's a
second you
separate
on
issue.
something?
That's separate, yes, and I've had things turned down. The thing is, right now, we have a public hearing, and this gentleman wants to be heard.
We got to close executive.
If you have a public hearing, I need to read the public hearing.
Please read it. Okay.
Just for the record, the mayor's never called one of us to put something on the
That's
agenda.
right.
Never. You never.
Not one of us to put something on the agenda.
Okay, we have a public hearing here. Please call the public hearing, City Secretary.
Did we close the,
And we have not closed it, we have not closed executive.
close the executive session?
Motion to close
Who
the executive
seconded?
session. First and second, all in favor? Aye. All opposed, motion carries.
Now, I would ask, is there a agenda item at this point, City Manager?
First of all, you need to be recognized. Call first the public hearing, City Secretary.
Well,
Call the
what's
public
first thing on the
hearing.
agenda?
City Secretary, call the
The
public hearing.
agenda item is item 1, public hearing and action on agreement with Homeland Security to remove border fencing from property between Gateway and B&M Bridges and from proposed East Loop.
May I be recognized?
Commissioner Triani wants to be recognized.
There's an error.
May I?
Yes, go ahead.
Thank you.
Go ahead.
Mr. Kabler, based on the information obtained from Congressman Ortiz's office and the information that we've obtained from the Department of Homeland Security, is there an action item at this time?
I would suggest that the action be that we continue the negotiations efforts with Homeland Security in relation to issues about fencing city property.
Okay. So then at this time,
Initially,
I
we had been given an ultimatum to have a meeting and decide if we wanted some kind of an amendment to a contract in relation to them putting up a fence on our property, which would give us a right to remove the fence once our projects were initiated. This is the downtown area, the whole park area, which is half an acre of property, and the East Loop project, which is 50 acres of property, which of 5 acres would be fenced. And that's the reason we had to call a meeting and obviously continue our efforts mostly by telephone with Salomon Ortiz and anyone that could assist us in finding a way to get to a point where we could continue to negotiate in a manner that we do not make decisions, understanding how important this decision is, not making a haste decision based on 1 week notice, etc. So we are to the point that we were successful, I believe, in getting the ability to sit down with people of President Obama's new administration to hopefully come to a critical meeting to decide how we're going to handle the wall issue on our property that would eventually destroy any chances we have of building an expressway, affecting overweight corridors and other projects, getting 18-wheeler traffic off our city streets. So we're talking about safe, we're talking about traffic congestion, we're talking about a lot of things that we need to make sure that we do not lose our ability to continue those projects, affecting other entities such as a port, the county, and Mexico as well.
then based on that and with the advice of Mr. Willett, our hired counsel on this issue, I would move that we table the action portion of this and allow the public who have come all this way and have come down here to comment on whatever issues they may have. But at this point, we're not going to address a contract because the contract issue has been tabled based on the correspondence from Salomon Ortiz's office regarding Ms. Napolitano's security.
Second.
That would be my request, yes.
Thank you. Have a second?
Second.
Motion is second, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carried. Please.
My name is Brad Burks. I pastor the Embassy of the Spirit Bilingual Church here in Brownsville. My major in college was political science and international relations, and I also spent one term in the Army in the United States Infantry, so I understand the security side of this as well. The country is looking at stimulating the economy because the rest of the country is starting to hurt. Brownsville's been hurting for a long time. And here they are talking about a temporary fence. Well, we need the Riverwalk right now. We need an economic stimulus package in Brownsville right now. When you look at the Riverwalk in San Antonio, I met people from all over the world when I was in San Antonio. I suggest we focus our efforts between the bridges. Now, I understand the issue of security, and that outside of the bridges, outside of Brownsville, they may have another issue. But between the bridges, surely we have enough border guards, enough border agents that they can patrol that area and keep it safe. Between the bridges is the area that's going to affect us the most, all the way from the Los Tomatos Bridge, or the Veterans Bridge, to the B&M Bridge, and the other side they refer to it as the Old Bridge. That is the area that we need to focus on, and we need to talk about the economic benefits for Brownsville. Now, when the rest of the country says, why should Brownsville have this, they need to understand that this is the lowest income per capita in the United States. They need to understand that what the rest of the country is starting to experience now, Brownsville has experienced for a long time. They need to have it presented in that way. If we can come together and communicate with each other, the mayor, the city council, and get on the same page where we're presenting the same idea, present something that's solid. If you want to knock off a political idea you don't like, you need to present something that will be better than that, something that will be more beneficial and that the politicians can grab a hold of and say, look what we did in Brownsville. Let the Obama administration say, this is our project, this is what we're doing for the city of Brownsville. don't let it be a war against them, but give them something that they can grab a hold of and say that they want to be their issue. This is something that the media as well can help. If we don't present this in a way that the media can grab a hold of, then the politicians don't have an incentive to grab a hold of it. As soon as the funding is available, I intend to move my church downtown, next to the bridge. And I'm hoping that it's going to be an area that is being revitalized, an area where we can be proud of and be excited about what's happening in downtown Brownsville. The last issue, communication. I don't think anybody here is truly an enemy. And I suggest and really encourage you guys to work together, put the past behind you, and I suggest you get behind the idea of a river walk, something that they can grab a hold of, something that they can see that'll be different than just a wall, something that they can grab a hold of as their own issue. You look at past administrations, when Congress, when the president decided he couldn't beat the Congress on an issue, the politically smart presidents jumped up and grabbed the issue and said, "That's mine," and ran with it. Give them an issue they can jump up and grab and say, "This is my issue," when you go meet with them. And let me, again, encourage you to work together. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, Mr. Commissioners, and my fellow Americans, I am in the majority of the U.S. citizens of Brownsville, with the exception of this group, that is interested in the building the fence. I am strongly in favor of it. It's about time that people, all people, especially the people from Mexico, to learn to respect our law and order system of government. We are a nation of laws and orders. The last time I read the Constitution, this respect for our laws was taught to us and stressed by our civic classes and by high school teachers. We were brought up to abide by established laws. Now teachers have abandoned those fundamental ideals. Now the motto is, do as you please. Mr. Mayor, I am more interested in saving people than saving one ocelot. The building of the river walking way, Brother Mayor. First, our citizens' safety, our homes, our neighborhoods, our children, our safety from dangerous people invading our borders. Look at Mexico's problem. Mr. Mayor, it is your duty to protect us, the citizens of Brownsville. What would you say to the family of one of our students that in college who is raped, murdered, and ravaged by an illegal or a terrorist? Those coming under the bridge are not responsible people, but they're bad, dangerous murderers, all willing to kill in order to invade our borders. What would you say to the families who were killed by a deranged nut with an AR-47? In our college classrooms, this has happened up east. It's important to protect our taxpayers first of all. First. Aren't you a law and order mayor and commissioners? I'm sure you are. Don't you want to protect our city, our country from terrorists, our enemies? I am sure that the rest of the commissioners are in favor to stop these illegal terrorists from invading our borders. No nation comes first but America. This fence will allow our agents to arrest and drug dealers, disrupt their smuggling operations by people who want to harm us. We need to make it harder for those people to penetrate our borders. Don't depend on Mexico's Calderon, as Mexico has their own problems, brothers. Now, more illegals here will march. They'll demand more government freebies, use our clinics, our schools, our public housing, food stamps. and have more babies at our expense. And use our cancer centers and dialysis centers. Force Mexico to use their own oil money. Force Mexico to use their oil money to feed their people. Not us, the American taxpayer. Build the wall. Thank you very much.
Good evening. First, I want to say that I take
Only
very.
in America can we talk like this.
I'm sorry?
Only in America can we express ourselves like
Yes.
this. Thank
Your
you.
name, sir?
God bless America.
Come.
First of all, I want to say that I take offensive to the comment that I heard. Give us liberty, give us death. I think it is on that principle that we are all here and able to speak. I just wanted to say that. Second of all, what I understand of everything that has been said this evening, we're all in the same boat. We're all in agreement that what is proposed, what has been brought to our doorstep, is something that is unfavorable, not just to the mayor or to the commissioners in separate, but as a city and a community as a whole. It is important for us as community members, as students, as fathers, as sons. It is important for us to know that you are united, you are together, and that your resolve and your purpose is the same as ours, that you are working for us, that the reasons that you all make the decisions that you make, the reasons that we have placed you in office is for the better good of each and every one of us here, of our children and our children to come, because that is why I work, that is why I am part of this community, not so much for me, but for those that follow after us. It is very important for us to be of one mind and one spirit when it comes to dealing with a great power and a great entity, which is the federal government. Federal government, I believe, has obtained too much power in the past 8 years under the previous administration, and I believe that we are victims of that great power coming down on us poor citizens of Brownsville, Texas. We need you all to work together. We need you all to unite. We do not want to hear that there is a contract, that there isn't a contract, that there might have been an agreement, that there will be agreement. We need something that is substantial. We need something that is clear. We need something that is transparent. We need to be informed. We need to know. We do not want to find out later on in the news that there were meetings, there weren't meetings. We want to be informed. That's all we ask. We support you. We voted you into office. And God permits, we will re-elect you back into office. Please do not let us down. God bless you.
Thank you.
Mi nombre es Alex Reséndez, Alejandro Reséndez. Brothers, as you all know, you all said, Alex, do the prayer for us, and I was welcome to do it with all my heart. I love Brownsville. I was raised and born here. I used to be an aircraft electrician. I have something to say right now. One of your commissioners started insulting the president or the mayor of the whole works. You don't do this in front of public. You talk to him out there. This was very disrespectful. Whether he's with you all or not, when you all vote, you all decide, but you do not insult the man that's above you. I do not insult my president when he's my president. And I've got this to say about the fence. Mexicans built the United States, whether you like it or not. I used to be in the army and we had Mexicans across the border. Okay? Up north, Mexicans picked up the pineapples, the naranjas, the tomates. They do the dirty work. Because not even the African Americans have worked as hard as the Mexicans. And most of them are illegals. But these people from up north, they brought all these Mexicans over here because they had plantations. And in these plantations, these Mexicans worked their butts. I'm an American citizen, full-blooded, and I was over there in Berlin, I was trained by Ranger training. But my folks, like my mother, comes from Mexico. And nobody's going to talk about my roots where I come from. I'm an American 100%. But who's going to pick up the grapes? Who's going to pick up the cotton? Who's going to do all that when they close that? I say, Barack Obama, President of the United States, bring down that wall. Don't let it come up. If God wanted a fence, He would have put a fence. God did not put fences. May all be blessed. And may all know up there in Washington, D.C., that Mexicans, Americans fought in the Japanese World War. And I know this for a fact. They defended America. We're still defending America. And there's nothing wrong with them. We never had walls. They look terrible. And we go and end up paying to fix the levees. May God bless you all.
Thank you.
Please state your name. I forgot to tell people that. State your name so they have it for the record.
He said
They already, they'll get it over there. But
I didn't say my name?
Yes,
You did.
sir.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I'm telling everybody, state your name. Everybody.
Mr. Mayor, Commissioners, my name is Dennis Sanchez.
Get the mic closer to you, please.
Mr. Mayor, Commissioners, my name is Dennis Sanchez. I was born and raised in Brownsville. I've worked here for the past 30 years. I'm glad to see tonight, for the first time, that there's actually a unanimous consensus among the commissioners and the mayor. All of you don't want a wall. But the practicalities of the situation are that probably there is going to be a wall of some sort. Now, I think you have several, and if you want to be practical to resolve this problem, you have several things to look at. First of all, you could fight and become a martyr, as Commissioner Atkinson said, and if you become a martyr, that wall will be built permanently, probably in a place where you don't want it. Secondly, as Commissioner Triani said, you could probably negotiate a better deal because you have two things going at the same time. You have the willingness of the federal government to sit down and talk with you, and you also have the pendency of the lawsuit, of the condemnation action, that's going to force them to talk to you, if not directly, through a judge. So now's the best time to cut a good deal. And now that you have been invited to Washington, I'm glad to hear that. That was great news that you all actually have the opportunity, as this gentleman said, to go out and pitch a win-win situation for both the city of Brownsville and the federal government. And I think that's what you all 7 need to do. You need to be unanimous in going up there. And as I was listening to each one of you make your comments, every one of you had something really good to say. And you all need to take those comments and put them together. And even the mayor was saying, he raised a good issue. The issue is, what's this going to cost us? Because we have to be practical as well. So put all of that together, look at it as a business deal, and try to make the best deal that you can. Because I feel that if you go to court, and there hasn't been any federal judge that's upheld a defendant yet, they've lost every step of the way. Now maybe there's a 1% chance that the Supreme Court will come forward and open up the case, but I doubt it. So you need to negotiate the best deal you can. I think the issue of transparency has been raised. I think the people of Brownsville would appreciate it if, before coming to a hearing and seeing public hearing and action on agreement, if you could disseminate through the Brownsville Herald or whatever the actual issues that are going to be talked about, or what the tentative issues are, so that people can be aware before they even come to the meeting. And the last point I'd like to make is I represent 2 of the adjoining landowners. You all have been negotiating for Hope Park, which is half an acre. The 2 adjoining landowners that I represent own 9 acres between B&M and Gateway Bridge. And we have never been consulted on by the federal government or the U.S. Attorney's Office or the City of Brownsville as to how this deal fits together. But if you're going to make a deal on your half acre, then I would tend to think that the property owners that own the 9 acres need to be involved somehow, so that they could have give their 2 cents and and give their input into making a deal that's going to be happy for everybody.
And that's why it's important that we don't rush into this, because there's a lot of landowners like yourself that want to be included in this and have not been included, and we should work to have them included.
But I think now's the opportunity, now that the dialogue is going to
Yes.
continue.
And the
I
Texas
think
Board
you
of
guys
Coalition
are
has
in a
been working
perfect
towards that to
position
make sure landowners are included.
I think you're in a perfect position to disseminate all this, get everybody involved, and come out with a good deal. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dennis.
Mayor, Mr. Commissioners, my name is Sam Manette.
Just a second, please. Just a second. Where you going? Where you going? We're holding this session because you're going to go tend to media. You're going to go tend to media. You're going to go tend to media. Let it state the record. He's going to go tend to media, and therefore disrespecting this public that is here for public comment. I'm so
This is
sorry.
not the first time the mayor does that, folks.
Go ahead, sir.
Okay, go ahead.
Sorry, sir.
Okay, my name is Sam Manette. I'm the 9 acres next to Hope Park. We represent Ruby River Investments, what is 5.164 acres, and then Sabalo River Development, which owns 3.5 acres. I'm the only person that's ever built on the river. I bought the property a long time ago as an investment. I'm pro-business. I'm pro-Brownsville. I have never been consulted on the property that, I mean, if they come in, we're already messed up now. They're going to get the land. If they put the fence in and then they have an agreement to give the land back, who does it go back to? It's my land. I'm for the Riverwalk and for the development of downtown Brownsville. I don't think it's right as far as having the negotiations. I had Homeland Security in my office and asked him why I was not included, since I am the landowner, on the negotiations. And he stated that I should be, but I haven't been. If the fence, Congress has already mandated the fence be built. And I proposed, if a fence has to be built, then put it on my property line. Don't take my property for the Riverwalk development and mess that whole project up. Put it on the property. I'll give you an easement. It won't cost them nothing. You don't have to buy it from me. You don't have to pay me the appraised price. Just build the property on the property line. Build the fence on the property line. Don't mess up the downtown. I don't want a fence. I don't want to see a fence on the Riverwalk.
If I can?
Yes.
We don't want a fence either. And the issue is DHS is the one that's seeking the right-of-way. Right. And I understand you're addressing us just in general, but it's actually DHS over here who's trying to obtain the land. And I understand perfectly what you're saying, and we would like to include you in our discussions. And does Mr. Sanchez represent you?
Yes.
Okay. And we'd be happy to keep Mr. Sanchez in the loop.
Okay. And I think you give us a good opportunity to, if we do something to reinforce the levees, that's another deal.
Well,
Instead of
totally
spending all this money, you're going to tear it down, and they're going to tear it back up. So that's all.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
very much.
Good evening, Honorable City Commissioners, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Ernesto de Leon, former City Commissioner, but I come here as a private citizen, owner of property that's been affected by the border wall. I was contacted by the Matamoros news media about 3 or 4 months ago, which they had never ever contacted me as I ran for city commissioner or twice for state commissioner of agriculture for the state of Texas. And all of a sudden, here they come trying to interview me, that because they had heard from a certain member of this city commission meeting, anyway, I can't mention names here, that I had upset.
We're not in public.
Yeah, we're not in public comment.
I can say that?
Yeah, we're not in public comment.
hearing.
We're in public.
That the mayor of the city of Brownsville had told them that De Leon was in favor of the wall, and that he was interested in getting it built. And I said, in other words, it saddens me that you all come here all of a sudden to interview me when You had a chance several times that I needed you, and you were nowhere around. But let me tell you something. I'm not for the wall. And whoever told you that I was for the wall is mistaken. But I ain't ignorant enough that the federal government can seize my land with the eminent domain without any problem. Since this land that has been affected by the border wall, and there's several of them, is in a estate, and I'm in charge of the estate, and I'm here on my personal. I'm not representing the estate right now because I did not consult with them, but nevertheless, I felt my duty to come here before you, and before you as well, especially, to let you know that I was not for the wall. And I've been where you sit right now, and it's tough. And only let you know that when the going gets tough, let's get going. And I appreciate what you're doing for our city. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
I'd just like to add something real quick. Estella, you were given a letter by the mayor a little earlier. It was from the mayor of Eagle Pass, Chad Foster. He opposes the wall, but at the same time, can you read that sentence from Mr. Chad Foster that he wrote to CBP DHS?
The Texas Border Coalition is not opposed to all fences or walls. Where they make sense and benefit from local involvement, such as in Hidalgo County and Del Rio, we are unified in our support. Where the government has refused to cooperate with local officials and consult as the law requires it, we have opposed it.
And just for the record, if you go to Eagle Pass, they have fencing all around their city. You know, this is something we gotta contemplate, that the person who's in charge of the Border Coalition doesn't oppose fences. You know what I mean? He doesn't. Chad Foster, the mayor of Eagle Pass. All right? So just, you go ahead. I saw your shirt. I just want to point that out.
My name is Scott Nickel, and I'm with the No Border Wall Coalition.
Good.
To the point that you just made, actually, the City of Eagle Pass signed an agreement with Department of Homeland Security that would not have included a border wall. 12 days later, Department of Homeland Security reneged on that agreement and went ahead and built the border wall after condemning the property. One thing that has been very disheartening in this whole process has been the distinct lack of transparency, the refusal to allow residents of Brownsville or the Rio Grande Valley or anybody else to see the deal that you're negotiating, even up till now.
It was on the internet.
We've had a meeting tonight.
It was on the internet. It was in the Rio
It wasn't released by you.
It was in the Brownsville Herald.
You did not release it. It was leaked. You guys have still refused to release it. I've been in contact with Commissioner.
That's not true. We released it.
Last night I got an email. Last night I got an email from Commissioner Troiani saying that he could not release that yet, and that the one that was out was not accurate. If the one that's out is not accurate, you should release the one that is. Not to say that this is how it has to be, but to give the people of Brownsville the chance to have input. They should not have people that they've elected to represent them think that they run the show. The people of Brownsville run the show. They pay your salary. You should allow them to see anything.
What salary?
Oh, you guys don't get paid? I'm sorry about that. Anyway, you should allow them to see anything that you're negotiating.
Hold on a second, just for clarification.
You're unpaid?
Hold on. Just,
I
apologize to cut you off. We get $9.23 after FICA for a meeting.
Wow, that's
so,
tough.
I mean, just if you're worried about your salary.
No, I actually wasn't worried about your salary per se. More the fact.
We can't release something that's not there.
Yeah, I was more concerned about the fact that you're representing the people of Brownsville, but you're making deals that they are not allowed to see. They should have been allowed to see tonight the deal that you still have not talked about. The presentation should have been given so that they would know where your negotiations stand. In the deal that was released last summer, in the deal that was leaked, you were prepared to give away $93,000 of land for not a penny in compensation. You were thinking that you got a great deal with the floating fence. Guess what? If you read the environmental stewardship plan published by Department of Homeland Security last July, it's got a floating fence in the exact spot that you're hoping to get it. You didn't get anything for that. What you got was a promise to get your land back if you pay to build a levee wall completely on your own dime. In Hidalgo County, they're only paying 40% of that levee wall. It's $10 to $12 million a mile. It's amazingly disruptive. I can't imagine how you're going to have a river walk with the river on one side and the walk on the other. But nonetheless, you guys are not being straight with your constituents. You need to keep them informed. You need to release these documents in advance of meetings like this so people can see them, respond to them, tell you what they think about them, not do this behind closed doors and think that it's all about what you feel that the people should see.
Let me tell you something, just so you know, I haven't seen any agreement, I haven't seen any document.
You should have, it's your job.
No, what they have is an option that they were going to present tonight. We got some more time. It is my job.
And I'm happy that you got more time.
We're keeping the public informed, and that's why we are here tonight. That's why we
You
called this
still
meeting.
have not informed anybody of any of the details of that option.
I don't have them.
Who does? You guys were ready to vote on it tonight. Were you going to vote on something you hadn't seen until it was handed to you?
Can I clarify? Okay. We were presented with an option, and it was explained to us orally. Okay,
And why was that not shared with the people of Brownsville?
Well, there are certain things and I think you had asked me about litigation. We're in litigation.
Yeah.
Okay, and I understand the issue of transparency, but there's a fine line between transparency and also privileged information between litigants. Okay,
but the people of Brownsville are your clients. That would be the landowner that was just up here. If his lawyer tried to negotiate something without telling him what's going on.
Hold on a second. Hold on. Let me. Because of concerns about the enforceability of the agreement that was proposed to us, we have continually sought out help from people with CASA. I've talked to Elizabeth Garcia. I've talked to other people about these issues and explained to them what the offers were. Mr. Cisneros has done that as well. Yeah. And when you emailed me, I told you that I would get answers to your questions because some of your questions were my questions as well. I didn't get answers to those questions. So we continued to seek help from our congressman, which is something that I have continually asked CASA and other groups to do, is to contact their congressman. We came to a point where we were told we had a drop-dead deadline and we had to make a decision on whether or not we wanted to get our land back. Obviously, that concerned us because we don't want to give up our land and we don't want a border wall. So it was put on the agenda to avoid this ultimatum. We continually pressed our congressman, and thank God he came through and he said, I'll get you a meeting with Secretary Napolitano. I jumped at it. Everybody else here jumped at it too, because what that does is that gives us an opportunity to speak with somebody who can tell us that they're a decision maker. Because what we're getting is a continuous line of, no, that's not going to work. This does not meet our tactical criteria. No, we're not willing to negotiate with you. No, we're not going to do this or that. And we're saying we need to have this land back so that we can promote our economic development plan, so that we can promote our community, and so that we can protect our environmental concerns. And we continually get, no, that doesn't meet our tactical criteria, and unless you meet that tactical criteria, you're not going to get your land back. Then my question on that is, how do I enforce this provision of reversion? And so now, thank God, we've gotten an opportunity to meet with somebody who is a decision maker and who has the authority to instruct them that, yes, they actually have to negotiate with us in good faith. And that's where we are. And I understand your concerns about transparency, and I apologize if we haven't been more transparent or if for whatever reason, but everybody up here is essentially a volunteer. We have to rely on city staff. We have to rely on the information provided to us by our attorneys. I myself have a law practice. I don't have time to negotiate transactions with the federal government. I've got my own clients who are saying, when can you get my work done? Okay? And so in the interim, we're listening to other people who are advising us. And we're listening to you, and I'm trying to respond to you every time you contact me. Just like anybody else who's contacted me, they know I'll respond to their emails. What we're trying to do is get something that is workable and that we can present to you and that we can vote on. It's not our fault if we're given an ultimatum and we're trying to, make decisions based on the information provided to us. Now we've got some time, and now we've actually got a meeting where every one of us, or those who are actually going to go to Washington, can sit down with somebody who is a decision maker and say, these are our problems, these are our concerns, you've got information, send it to us. We'd love to incorporate it. That's why we're having a public hearing. We didn't say, we're going to vote on this and we're not going to have a public hearing. We could have. The city manager put it on public hearing. We didn't say we're going to shut down public comment when there's nothing to vote on. We want to hear from you. If you've got ideas, we want to hear them. When we had the meeting back in June and July, I said, give me alternatives. And that's what we need. We need alternatives. We need help. This is a very poor city. We have limited resources. The federal government is a huge entity with a lot of resources. They have 10 attorneys working on the project. They've done this to communities all from San Diego all the way down here, you know.
And the
So
fact
if
that
you've
it's a
got
poor
information,
community
give it to
is precisely the reason why the deal that you've negotiated so far, that apparently did not change by a single word between last July and the one that was recently released, that deal won't work because you don't have the money to build the replacement levee wall. And if you don't build the replacement wall, the temporary wall does not come down. It says in the contract...
We've never committed.
And
we've never committed to it.
Right, and if you can't pay for it, in the contract that was released, and the one that was released in July, and the one that's been leaked, it says to get your levee wall or your temporary wall taken down and get your land back, you, the city of Brownsville, has to build a replacement levee wall.
That has never been an option.
It's right here.
That has never been an option from this
We have
commission.
what he's trying to say is we have an accepted option. I can tell you I'll sell you a car for hold on.
Right.
I can tell you I'll sell you a car for $30,000. If you don't want to buy the car for $30,000, you can walk away.
As far
And
as
that's
I
what
know,
we're doing
since you
right
haven't
now.
released anything else, this is what you were going to vote on tonight.
And we can vote yes or no, right?
I would like to see the contract, and I think most of the people here would like to see the contract before you vote either way.
Well,
in the contract that has gotten out, it says you have to pay, and that the United States government and Department of Homeland Security will not pay. So even if there was money, which there's not, in the stimulus package, that could not be used to build the border wall. Even if the federal government was being nice about it. I would love to have you guys talk to it, but you haven't done a very good job up until now. You haven't, if the thing hasn't moved in 7 months, if your contract has not changed in 7 months, if your contract...
Where have you been effective?
If your contract hasn't changed in 7 months, you're not doing much negotiating.
Where have you been effective? Where have you been effective? I'm asking you.
Listen, I'm sorry. Please allow me 1 second. Alex, your mayor chose to leave this meeting. Your friend the mayor chose to leave this meeting to go address the media and not listen to your concerns. Don't come to me, Alex, with we need the mayor. The mayor made a decision. The mayor made a decision to walk out. No, sir. No. Sir, you're very misinformed. You're very misinformed. I'm sorry, you're very misinformed.
One last point that I want to make. It's fantastic that you guys are getting to meet with Napolitano. You need to understand the situation that you're actually in. You've been stating many times, and DHS has said the same thing, that the wall is mandated by Congress and that it has to go through Brownsville. That is not the case. Senator Hutchison put an amendment in last year's omnibus spending bill that said, I quote, "Nothing in this paragraph shall require the Secretary of Homeland Security to install fencing, physical barriers, roads, lighting, cameras, and sensors in a particular location along an international border of the United States if the Secretary determines that the use of or placement of such resources is not the most appropriate means to achieve and maintain operational control of the international border." Napolitano has the power to decide that a fence in Brownsville does not make sense. I hope that you're able to convince her of the fact that it doesn't make sense, but please don't listen to Homeland Security lawyers that are saying we have a congressional mandate, our hands are tied, we can't do anything except put a wall through Brownsville. If she decides not to build it, it doesn't get built. If she decides it does, it does. So I hope that you do a good job when you make it to D.C.
Thank you, Scott.
Thank you. And I'm just going to add something to that. I'm just going to add something real quick before you talk.
Excuse me.
No, this meeting's happening not because of the mayor's effort at all. This meeting's happening because Salomon Ortiz listened to 6 commissioners who are willing to plead with him and say, help us. This guy ran against Salomon Ortiz. He's not going to ask for Salomon Ortiz for anything. That's the politics. You want to know transparency? That's transparency right there. All right? Well, he could be in here. I'll tell him to his face.
He does it all the time.
Well, he can be here.
Does
He
it
has
all the
every
time.
option. You think I'm afraid to tell him to his face?
Somebody needs to call
Okay,
the
let's go on.
mayor in to
Let's
do his
go
Hey, let's
job.
go ahead.
Sir,
Let's go on.
Not being rude, it's being factual.
please.
Yeah, it's being factual.
Oh,
Go ahead.
Hey, excuse me, let's listen to
let's,
your comments.
please.
Wow. Listen, I'm from Del Rio. I work in Laredo. I drove down here tonight because of this meeting. I know this road very well. And some of you may know that in October 2006, I walked from Laredo to here because of the border wall. I think you need to be here, Mayor. We need the leadership. Listen, it was because nobody, prior to the passage of the Secure Fence Act, stood up and condemned it publicly. There was no outrage. There was no leadership. Texas Border Coalition wasn't there. When I got to Brownsville, it was the only city that showed the spirit of opposition to the wall. The mayor at that time walked with us. We had a police escort. We had a big event. We walked over to anyway. Out of that has grown a tremendous amount of opposition. I believe in democracy. I've lived the American dream. Democracy is we the people, a government of the people, by the people, for the people. We were all trained to think that way. But we have lived in 8 years of police state. What you just did tonight by canceling the meeting was because of the police state controlling democracy. It's time for that to stop. That's why we did the protest walks, even last year, the March for, to get Brownsville on the map at the UT Austin debate between Obama and Clinton. University of Texas Brownsville was there. The border wall was an issue. We did the walk for that, and we started here. And the mayor walked with us. I don't know how many of you all walked with us. I don't recognize all your faces from walking. But he did. I appreciate that he did. But we had elected officials. We've had Texas legislators. We've had judges. We had a lot of people walk with us in protest. Out of that has grown a little group called Border Ambassadors. Another group, No Border Wall. All kinds of groups up and down the border have mobilized. In December of this last year, Border Ambassadors, along with No Border Walls, we hosted what we call the Border Wall Summit in El Paso. We had Senator Shapley there. We had Congressman Filner there. We had some 30 organizations there to get together in as diverse group of people opposed to the wall. From environmental groups, immigration groups, Native Americans, faith-based groups, elected officials, to see what we could do. Out of that has grown a group, a network called Without Walls Network. 92 organizations are represented in this network. We have a planned strategy to stop this insanity. An Iron Curtain was everything we were opposed to as we grew up in this country. You all are an example of what this police state mentality has done. It's divided you. I believe every one of you are opposed to the wall.
Is that your timer, City Secretary?
If you all are opposed to the wall, oppose the wall with we the people. Just say no. A little bit of rape is not good. Okay, this is a rape of the borderlands by a racist, fascist regime. I'm sorry if you don't like those terms, but it's the truth. When that Secure Fence Act passed, there was going to be a wall 172 miles from Laredo to Brownsville. That's why I picked that route. It was the longest stretch of wall that was going to be in the state of Texas. How many miles of wall have been built? It was supposed to have been terminated, done, completed by December of 2008. You don't have a wall. It's not just because of you. It's been because of all of us, including you.
Of course.
Okay? So get on the same page. You have your political agendas, you have your political personalities, you got your personality conflicts. Get over that. Join with we the people and say no to this. You know the letter that was just submitted by the congressman. We've been working with Filner and Susan Davis out in California, all the way to all the Texas congressmen to say no to the wall. They finally submitted this letter to Obama and Napolitano, and thank God we got those two in position. We wouldn't have done it under Bush or Chertoff, and those folks know it. They have run out of time, and they know it. They want to push this through. Join forces. We the people, you are the representation of our voices. You can't do it independent of us. That's not democracy. Elementary 101. We're telling you what we want you to do. Don't go along with it. Stop it. We are working in several levels of strategy. One is moratorium. When we did the walk back in March of last year, that was the call. Went to the media. We said, we want a moratorium. No border walls said it. Border ambassadors said, we all said we want a moratorium. Not even a year later, we got our congressmen saying, moratorium. Well, hello. If you guys commit to something, you're not going along with the idea of a moratorium. Stick with the idea of a moratorium. We got a lawsuit going before Supreme Court. We probably will win that now that we have a change of politics up there in Capitol Hill. It's not, to waive 36 congressional acts that took 109 years and all those presidents to sign and one political appointee waived them with one signature. That's not America. That's a police state. Y'all get rid of your differences on this issue. Stand on the common ground. You all said you're opposed to the wall. Buy it. I buy it. I buy it from everyone. I heard you with conviction. Your letters had conviction. Okay? The mayor has the conviction. Whatever else don't mess with Homeland Security. They're going to manipulate you. They have all the military strategies. They know how to trick, maneuver, go around, work in the shadows, buy off. Dark side. We don't need it, folks. We need to stop this insanity now. Next level. We're going to fly into Washington. We got National Geographic photographers, international conservation photographers traveling the border as we speak, documenting all the damage this wall has done. We're going to present it in Washington in the end of March. We're all going to go in. We're going to have representatives from all 50 states. We right now have representatives from our 3 North American countries and in about 18 states. And we're going to go in there and we're going to meet with all of our congressmen, all of our senators. We're going to meet with the administration, and we're going to meet with Napolitano, and we're going to present this. We want this era of Iron Curtain on American soil over with. We got rid, look at Abu Ghraib, look at Guantanamo, look at the torture, look at all the crimes that have been committed. It's every day in the news. Don't be divided on this. Stand with us. This is the ground zero in Texas right now. You are it. Defend us. Defend us from the police state. Please be statesmen, not politicians.
Thank you.
Mayor, Commissioners, I first want to congratulate you for being united in opposition to the wall, all of you. And I want to call for a more respecting relationship among you. And I think if we would have a commission that we can all be proud of, just get rid of that little edge and let's stay united. And I want to repeat every single exhortation that Jay just laid out. I want to remind you all of the bigger picture as well, that remember that this whole nutty idea of a wall comes on the heels of the Sensenbrenner bill and a lot of other anti-immigrant, anti-Latino actions that have been in the news for the last decade or so. And with all due respect to Mr. Barrera, I have a lot of respect. He was among the first activists in the Valley. A legacy of activism from the times of Bob Sanchez and Filimon Vela and his brother Johnny. I have a great respect for his family and for the men he worked with in the early days before I became an activist. And I'm a 60-year-old man, and he's my senior by a few. So I respect him for that, but I think he's wrong. The problems that Mexico have, which are being used as the excuse, this is where I talk about the bigger picture. The wall will not stop drug trafficking in Mexico. Stopping drug consumption in the U.S. will. I think we need to provide incentives for that to happen. We need to pay people to check in as drug users, and I then think we need to figure out a way to give them the drugs so that the drugs don't become a business and empower the drug lords in Latin America, not just in Mexico. I think that would go a long ways to fixing a lot of the narco-terrorism that Mr. Barrera is correct in pointing out is some of the motivation for the wall that the anti-Latino fervent sort of clung to. We need to remember that protecting the environment, even if it's just a few acres here and there, all along the border, 2,000-mile border, is not just for the sake of the environment. It's for our sake as well. A good environment, trees, plants, are healthy for human beings and our border communities. We have lost, because of overdevelopment, over-farming, etc., a lot of the original habitat in the valley. We cannot afford to lose one more acre. This wall is threatening that little record that has been established by Frontera Audubon and all the other groups that have been working so diligently for the last 3 or 4 decades to restore. I think we need to ask the Obama administration, instead of a wall, give us some restoration funds. Let's restore the Rio Grande. Let's come and restore it once and for all. It's important to the region. I want to end with what I started with. I commend you on your unity, and I repeat what Jay said. We want you to stay united. We want you to work respectfully and with us. You strengthen us, and we will strengthen you. We will continue to support all the actions you take in opposition to this wall. Thank you very much.
Good evening, Mayor and City Commissioners. My name is Mary Wood Ferguson, and I'm happy to be here, I guess I should say. I know we all came prepared to make comments on a specific or non-specific contract that you may or may not have seen. We're still kind of in the dark on that.
So are we.
But anyway, I've lived in Brownsville all my life, and I'm just very concerned that I have elected officials before me tonight that are not concerned about what we think about what may be happening in our community. And I know you have an East Loop project in the works. You have a channel dam in the works. You have a river development in the works. And I was kind of hoping to see how the border wall and all these projects were going to be presented, because I think there's a lot of confusion out in the public, and we want to know what's going on, and I think we could better understand and be better prepared to make comments on things like that. But I know that some of you on the commission are angry and upset that the public has found out about something that's happening out there with a contract. And I mean, you're about to make a deal with the Department of Homeland Security, whom we all know has consistently dealt, behind the scenes, and that is what has brought us here out of concern. I would like to read into the record and hand out some written comments that were sent to us today from the Sierra Club office in Washington, D.C. The Sierra Club is a national organization that has millions of members across the nation, and we're very lucky to have had them learn about what's about to happen in Brownsville, and urge you not to do that. So I'll pass these out, and then I'll read it into the record.
And let me say this, that protecting and preserving our ecological corridor should be a priority to us here in the decision making. And it should be considered also in our negotiations with any fence, because I think that would be devastating to our ecological corridor.
Thank
and I
you.
commend you for what you've done.
No, I've been very active participating with Frontera Audubon and Sierra Club and other organizations in the Valley that has gone before Congress to testify and lobby for funding for a wildlife corridor along the river from Falcon Dam to the mouth of the Rio Grande. And that's why we're very concerned about the construction of a border wall, because it's going to separate a lot of the precious habitat that's very important for ocelot and jaguarundi and migratory birds and other cats. There was an article in the paper just the other day about some sightings, and I think that you really need to be concerned as you go forth with your projects such as the East Loop and the Riverwalk and the Channel Dam to take these things into consideration, and hopefully during those processes the public will have an opportunity to make fair and adequate environmental input into the process, that there will be no laws waived at that time. Here are the comments by the Sierra Club. Is this working?
It is.
February 12th, from Ethan Manuel, Director of Land Protection, Sierra Club, Washington, D.C. Dear Mayor Pat O'Mahada and Brownsville City Commissioners, as the oldest and largest grassroots environmental organization in the country, Sierra Club is concerned that specific proposals to address the issue of immigration can have unintended consequences for the environment and human rights. We continue to oppose the designs for a system of border fences and walls that would do unnecessary and serious harm to precious natural areas and disrupt critical wildlife corridors. As you know, the border regions contain a large number of federally protected areas, including national parks, national monuments, national wildlife refuges, national forest, and wilderness areas. These lands are part of America's wild legacy and are of significant ecological, educational, historic, cultural, recreational, and economic value to the United States and its people. We urge you to oppose any border wall construction plan in Brownsville. With no congressional mandate for additional border wall construction and a new administration now in place, there is an opportunity for the government to reconsider its border security policy. We believe that a comprehensive review of the entire border infrastructure project should be conducted to determine both the effectiveness and various costs of the project. Until such a review is completed, we strongly urge officials at the local and national level to suspend all border wall construction plans. Thank you for your consideration. Sincerely, Mr. Manuel, Sierra Club, Washington, D.C. And I just want you to know that the citizens of Brownsville are concerned. We know in Hidalgo County that they're already spending $10, $12, $14 million on a mile of border wall. And if you enter into any kind of contract with the Department of Homeland Security, you shouldn't enter into a contract that's going to cost the taxpayers of Brownsville $10 or $15 million, or 20 years down the road when you're ready to build your East Loop, it's with inflation and the cost of building materials, it could be $50 million a mile. So please don't put that burden on the citizens of Brownsville. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, Commissioners. I usually don't come out and publicly speak, but I heard about this, and I brought my children with me, and I wanted to show them that every person has a voice, regardless. And whether I agree with the wall or not, or I agree with you gentlemen, I have a right to let you know. Personally, I don't agree with the wall. I think it's economically unstable. It's not environmentally stable. It shows disregard for our neighbors. It is going to decrease tourism for the simple fact tourists are going to think the wall is there because Mexico is bad. All we hear lately is Mexico is bad, Mexico is bad. I'm a transplant from North Carolina. I've been in the Valley 8 years, 4 years in Mexico I lived, and 4 years here in Brownsville. I believe one gentleman said how Mexican people are evil and bad, and terrorist. I don't think that anybody from 9/11 actually was Hispanic. I think if we look back through history, Mexican people have been good to the U.S. They have been kind. They have built it up. They have worked in jobs that other people don't want to do, domestic, agriculture, a lot of different things. And to sit here and hear how people degrade their own people, whether you were born on this side of the river or you were born on that side of the river, 90% of Brownsville is Hispanic. So somebody came from Mexico or somewhere at some point. It's just very disturbing to hear how everyone is going at each other, but nothing is getting solved. I came tonight because the news said, we're going to get a wall regardless, whether it's a temporary wall or a permanent wall. So if you're not going to vote on it, are we still going to get that wall tomorrow? What are we going to do to get the United States government to say, look, we're not going to do this right now? What else can the people do besides come out and voice their opinion? Do we need to demonstrate? Do we need to march? Do we need to give buses? I mean, Obama was here and he was for the people. He was for the Hispanic people. Where is he now? What is he doing now that we don't want the wall? He's dealing with the economy. What's going to happen to Brownsville's economy? What's going to happen to our economy when that wall gets put up? I think that's all I have to say, but I just think it's a terrible...
And thank you for
Thank you
being
very
with
much.
children. I think it's a very important lesson to learn. And thank you for taking the time. Thank you very much. City Secretary, before you get started, I want to hand you this packet. This is of people that emailed me and wanted their voice heard. I wanted part of the record, including the Texas Border Coalition letter, and Congressman Ortiz's letter, and everything else here, okay?
Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you.
Thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak tonight. My name is Alma Leal. I was born and raised in Brownsville. I didn't vote for any of you, but that's because I don't live in Brownsville. Not because I don't know
Dr. Leal, thank you.
some of you. But I do want to thank you for taking a stand against the wall. I think I feel very fortunate and honored to have participated in some of the initiatives to get people involved in Brownsville to protest against the wall. I participated in the march across the bridge and also at the event center when there were hearings, and also at an event that was held at Dean Porter Park. And I want to say that Mayor Ahumada was there at all three. And so I thank you, Mayor, and I'm not sure if anyone else was, but I appreciate that. One of my biggest fears is to see this wall built and look back maybe 10 years from now and see damage that will not be reversible, to see the wildlife destroyed, our relationship with Mexico destroyed, and not just with Mexico, but with the people here in the valley, and our economy affected, and for there to be nothing that can be done to reverse the damage. And so I thank you again, and I hope to continue to be involved because Brownsville is dear to my heart. Like I said, I do work in Brownsville, and so let us know, and if there's any way that I can help, I will be glad to do so. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mayor, can I say something real quick?
Sure.
That lady that came up a little while
Ms.
ago
Leal, which one?
from the Sierra Club,
Oh, Mary Wood Ferguson?
can I hand you something that we got? Maybe you can work on it for me.
Please proceed.
Mr. Mayor, City Commissioners, my name is Ryan Tauber. I'm here tonight. I am a U.S. citizen, registered voter, military veteran, and non-church goer. More importantly, tonight I'm here as a member of the CASA organization, the Coalition of Amigos in Solidarity in Action, based here in Brownsville. In light of tonight's fantastic and enlightening news that the condition agreement deal that had originally been on the table is no longer there, I'm going to revamp my speech. In response to this news, and in the response to the news that some of the commissioners, perhaps the mayor, will be traveling to Washington to represent the city of Brownsville in regards to the border wall, as a member of CASA and on behalf of our coalition, we cannot stress enough the importance of continuing to represent the people of Brownsville, those who live on the property that will be directly affected by any construction of a border wall. And we cannot encourage you enough to please remember those people when you're talking to representatives in Washington. We understand that Section 19, Section 21, city land is important, but you cannot forget about the people of Brownsville and those who have no other choice but their homes that they're in now. Our organization has been walking the streets of Brownsville. We've gone to some of the poorest areas in Brownsville. We've talked to the landowners, the homeowners who have property along the levee, that if a wall were to be constructed, their house would likely be demolished. We know that they would be offered some type of compensation. Those homeowners and us, we also know that they will not be able to find housing for that type of compensation that they receive. So again, we cannot stress enough that when you go to Washington, please not only fight for city land, not only fight for your revitalization project, but please remember to fight for the people of Brownsville.
Young man, thank you for your service to our country.
Hello, my name is Jahaira Fuentes Tauber, and I think most of everyone's concern here is having the border wall built. I, on the other hand, have a second concern. I would like to ask the Commission, the Mayor, and the parliamentarian what the knowledge and qualifications are on the Robert's Rules of Order, because I myself have been part of Student Council together with Mr. Camarillo, and we've had tough times with our Student Council at the university, but I don't think it has ever gotten this bad. And if we continue to have this right now, pretty much the room was full. Next time, it's going to get even fuller. What message are we going to be sending if we can't even behave ourselves here at the meetings? We're not going to be sending a strong front. That is my major concern right now, that if we can't stick together, we're not going to be sending a good message to the government. So I know Robert Rules of Order. I've taken courses, I've taken tests, and believe me, I don't see it being practiced here. So hopefully at the next meeting it gets better and the parliamentarian actually speaks up when something is being done wrong or somebody's not being actually given the right to speak on the floor. So just want to address that concern.
Good evening. My name is Jorge Flores. I had to scribble a few notes here. I had a prepared speech. It was kind of tough, but because of the new developments brought by Commissioner Troiani, I have a lot. I'm very encouraged. I think that that's the way to go. Reach out to the new administration. We have Ms. Jana Napolitano, who was governor of Arizona, and I do know that she was opposed to the border fence in Arizona. So I'm very, very glad that the City Commission has been proactive in reaching out to the new administration. And especially after we read in the paper that on Tuesday, all of the congressional delegation for the southwest border sent a letter to President Obama and to Jana Napolitano to take a second look at the fence and evaluate our security of the country and whether to discouraging the construction of any further fencing. So I'm very, very encouraged, and I wrote some notes while other people were speaking. So I hope I can read my chicken scratch here. The one thing that I sense listening to Attorney Sanchez is that we've had some real bad faith negotiations by local homeland security negotiators. As we heard tonight, they have not even advised the owner of the 9 acres, or they did advise him, but they did not include him in the negotiations, and I guess hoping to empty the city's deep pockets to build an enhanced levee or a 15-foot levee, whatever they call it, hybrid levee, at a cost of $10 million a mile. So my question is, if the city owns 1/10 of the property and we have a gentleman that owns the rest of it between the bridges, it makes sense to me. And having worked for the government as a head of customs here, it amazes me that Homeland Security would not include them as part of the negotiation. So I sense some, it angers me to see this kind of activity going on. The other thing that bothers me is that the new administration has been kept in the dark about this, do or die agreements with the city. And to me, that's a type of blackmail, knowing full and well that we have a new administration. They have been in office for 20 days, and they need to be allowed to unpack their bags and look at these issues. And with the economic crisis, they have not had an opportunity to do so. But like I say, I'm very encouraged, and I want to thank the commissioners that have acted on our behalf and have turned the tide so that we can stall this project and hopefully eventually stop it. And I know that I've been on Mr. Carlos Cisneros' case because he represents my district, and he's been kind enough to listen to me and work and assure me that he would work very hard to try to keep this fence from being. And having worked on the border, I know what it takes to enhance border security. And when you go to Washington, what I'm going to ask you is to talk about the economic crisis that this country has, and talk about the crisis in Brownsville. We need those millions invested at the ports of entry for more lanes, more bridges, more personnel, more equipment. The Border Patrol has 18,000 Border Patrolmen. There's nothing wrong to keep asking. More fences, more airplanes, more equipment. But how about the ports of entry? They have been totally forgotten. And I know what it is to work with low resources. Director here, director in Norfolk, Virginia, and I know that the ports of entry are neglected, and I think that you need to convey that message to Ms. Napolitano, that the bridges need more personnel. We got the maquila industry, the Fortune 500 companies, and we need to help them expedite their goods through the U.S. Of course, with enforcing all the laws that apply, but they need more personnel. So I want to wish you luck on your negotiations, and again, I'm very happy to hear about the new developments, and I think I won't sleep well tonight. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Good evening, gentlemen.
Good evening. Good evening.
Good evening, Lady Secretary. What I was planning to do was make a statement in whatever way was appropriate. At one point, I countenanced ripping into this commission, which was not a very good thought. I made that statement so that perhaps you can empathize with some of the strong emotions that I have personally and professionally been going through. So my prepared statements have been scrapped. I am much more at ease this evening knowing that the dark forces have been disrupted. All right, and thank you, Mr. Troiani, for making that breakthrough. I'm also going to thank each and every one of you, Mayor Ahumada, Mr. Atkinson, Mr. Garza, Mr. Camarillo, I sent you an email earlier today. You sent me a very responsive email. It was simple but to the point. Thank you. Mr. Cisneros, I know your wife. She's a lovely woman. I know what kind of man you are. All right? Gentlemen, in the legal area, there have been times that I wanted to take your heads, to tell you the truth. Okay? I wanted to take your heads. I think you've made some very unwise decisions, but I understand that you've been under a lot of duress. Okay? When you're undergoing what I see as extortion, you either do this or we're going to do this, and the do this that they're telling you they're going to do is really bad. I guess there's a tendency to get locked into a compartment. You get locked into the compartment and you forget the rest of the ship. You forget the rest of the people that are going to try to get you the hell out of there. So when Jay said we the people, we're in this for the long haul. We're not playing around. This is not a theatrical exercise for me or the people that are in that audience. Okay? Give me liberty or give me death. You don't like that? Guess what? This is from my heart. This is the way I was bred and raised. I was born here in Brownsville, Texas. I love you all. But I am not going to put up with tyranny from any quarter. That includes petty autocrats, petty dictators that don't have a dime's worth of sense. So I'm going by my dad's credo. Son, if you know you're right, you don't back down. I don't care what the odds are, son. You come back home and I find out you back down, then you're going to get a little something from me. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you, Pancho. City Secretary, would you please read to record Border Coalition what they sent, please?
A letter from the Texas Border Coalition to the Brownsville City Commission. Dear Commissioners, since September 2007, the Texas Border Coalition has sought to impress on the officials of the United States Department of Homeland Security the necessity of cooperation and coordination among the federal, state, and local governments in order to foster smart, effective border security measures. Over the past 18 months, DHS officials have repeatedly assured us that cooperation and coordination is a priority for the federal government and will be forthcoming in the future. Despite these assurances, our history with DHS has been marked by revelations of policies, plans, and maps detailing DHS strategies for border security without any consultation, cooperation, or coordination. We met with the DHS Secretary Michael Chertoff in 2007 seeking changes to their initial concepts and suggested other means of achieving greater border security, including the Brownsville Weir, removal of vegetation, improved sensors, the Laredo Vega, and more. TBC was told by Secretary Chertoff that his hands were tied and that we needed to change the Secure Fence Act. We changed the law at the end of 2007 and worked hard to get the security to alter his approach as the new law provided. Other than the Hidalgo levee and the Del Rio projects, both of which TBC strongly supported, we were rebuffed. In changing the law, the TBC also got enacted a statutory requirement that DHS consult with the Secretary of the Interior, the Secretary of Agriculture, states, local governments, Indian tribes, and property owners in the United States to minimize the impact on the environment, culture, commerce, and quality of life for the communities and residents located near the sites at which such fencing is to be constructed. In December 2007, we sought to cooperate with the Secretary in fulfilling this requirement. DHS has steadfastly assured us that phone calls and restaurant meals fulfilled this requirement. We have enlisted the support of the Texas members of Congress, the chairman of the House Homeland Security Committee, Benny Thompson, and the Homeland Security Appropriations Chairman, David Price, representatives from Mississippi and North Carolina, who have sought to help enforce the law because they believe in justice. When the most recent transfer of money for construction was allocated to the DHS for construction, Chairman Price demanded that the consultation requirement be fulfilled, telling the Secretary, quote, "I expect you to undertake it," unquote. Our most recent efforts at consultation ended yesterday, when TBC rejected an offer from DHS to drive 2 miles to the 34.5 miles of fence planned in Cameron County, and for DHS to then claim that the consultation requirement had been satisfied. We will not settle for less than the full measure of our statutory rights. In order to enforce our rights, we have filed suit in the U.S. District Court for the District of Columbia, where it is now pending before Judge Reggie Walton. I cannot say when our case will be heard, but we continue to press the judge to advance it on his docket. We have also been advising officials of the Obama transition, new Department of Homeland Security Secretary Janet Napolitano, and other top officials in President Barack Obama's administration on the need to fulfill the law and the new president's promises to review border security policies. We have worked side by side with our allies in the U.S. Congress and the Texas legislature to make sure that the voices of the people of the Texas-Mexico border are heard in the corridors of power. The Texas Border Coalition is not opposed to all fences or walls. Where they make sense and benefit from local government, such as in Hidalgo County and Del Rio, we are unified in our support. Where the government has refused to cooperate with local officials and consult as the law requires, we have opposed it. As TBC chairman, I do not presume to advise the elected officials of the city of Brownsville on a purely local decision about how your fair city should proceed. I want you to know that the TBC will stand shoulder to shoulder with you in your decision. Finally, let me observe that the TBC is not a single-issue coalition. Our work in Austin and Washington to improve our border infrastructure has resulted in $1 billion for border crossing improvements just this week. Our work in support of education, transportation, and health care is widely respected by state and federal officials, and we look forward to working with you on those critical issues in the days and months ahead. Sincerely, Chad Foster, Chairman of the Texas Border Coalition and Mayor of the City of Eagle Pass, Texas.
Thank you. Thank you.
The letter was dated February the 11th.
Thank you. Okay, you want to say something, Larry? I believe by joining forces with the Texas Border Coalition is the best way to get the best deal for the city of Brownsville. I hope this commission will consider that, because I think there's strength in numbers, and you're talking about all the cities from El Paso to Brownsville that are united on this issue, and I think they stand a chance of getting the best out of the federal government by working together and making sure they live up to the agreement. Mr. Ferguson, you want to say something?
Actually, I forgot to ask this question when I was up here a while ago, but I know that, is there a pending litigation you talked about? The city is involved in litigation?
Yes, it is.
In the court already, or is it?
Yes, no, in the Southern District of Texas. The suit has been filed against us.
Okay, when did that occur?
In September.
In September.
And Mr. Willett has filed.
So it's a condemnation lawsuit?
Yes.
They have title, but they don't have possession.
No, but they've filed suit, and we are in litigation. And Mr. Willett is our attorney handling the litigation.
Okay.
He's present, and he's filed an answer on our behalf.
Okay.
So we are, in fact, in litigation.
Okay. On all of city
on the condemnation of the city property, sectors
city
19
property.
and 21.
Sectors
19 and 21.
19 and 21. So 19 is Hope Park.
Hope Park area, the land between the two bridges.
And 21, is that Lincoln
Is
Park?
where the East Loop is.
Where the East Loop is. Before you get to Lincoln Park?
When you go over Tomates and then you start
Veterans Bridge up to Southwest Road.
Where the
Make
East
a
Loop
right.
is proposed.
Okay, from the eastern side of the Veterans Bridge,
Right.
I don't know, as the river goes.
going out towards the airport and the port.
Right. Okay. And then let me ask you another question. I mean, if it's kind of I realize it's public hearing. But when you plan on constructing the East Loop, what do you plan on doing with the levee at that time? And how will that affect the landowners between the bridges all the way out to 511?
It's not on the bridge levee, it's on the county levee. It's the one that runs right adjacent to the ditch behind my house on Impala and on East Avenue.
That's the IBWC levee.
It runs on
So the
county.
East Loop is going to go from downtown Brownsville, essentially, right, from
Down
Elizabeth,
University Boulevard.
University Boulevard,
To East Avenue.
to East Avenue. It's not going to go out to Southmost Road?
No. It'll eventually lead out to Southmost Road, but it's taking the back of, if you turn right before an Impala, it'll run on Impala, continue to San Eugenio, continue out, going out towards Monsi's Ranch, and headed out towards Southmost, where it'll hitch on to 511.
But let me caution you.
So is it going to go through areas where there are no roads constructed at this time?
Mary, let me caution you. This is very speculative, because we were supposed to walk the line and find out exactly where.
Right. Well, I'm just
it
trying
didn't
to...
happen.
Right.
It didn't happen. So they could change it very easily, because they did it to Eagle Pass. They agreed on a certain line, and once the agreement was signed with Eagle Pass, they changed the line. So we don't know yet exactly where the final outcome will be.
I think that would have been very helpful in this public hearing that's being held tonight, is to have had a map up here showing us, because a lot of it seems to have been contingent on, or a lot of your concern as representatives of the public is that if DHS does the border wall, then you're not going to be able to construct your East Loop. Is that correct?
That is one portion of it.
Okay.
That is one portion, and I'm sure that we will, because of the issue of information transmission, I'm sure that we'll get some information out on Channel 12. I think Mr. Kabler indicated that he'd like to put some information out, and we may have some different things that we'd like to present to y'all, so y'all can see as we get ready to go visit with Ms. Napolitano, and we start to proceed with different propositions.
I've seen different maps and different locations, so I would.
That's what I think would clarify.
I think it would help a lot.
of questions.
I agree with you.
The public is totally confused, and I think if you had a map, if you had a public hearing, you had a map up there on the wall that showed.
Yes.
Because you're talking about being concerned about not being able to construct your East Loop because of the condemnation of the land, the building of the levee, the wall, and we all know that the wall is pretty much proposed along the IBWC levee in most instances. It may vary. And so if DHS doesn't do something with that land, my question is, are you going to be doing something with that land? Are you going to be proposing to move the levee for say the building of the Channel Dam or the building of the River Walk or the construction of the East Loop?
At this point, there's no plans for that.
No?
No.
No?
No. But again, we don't know. We have to have a definite line of where the proposed fence is going to be before we can really know what to do. I, for one, I am of the belief that we should have a constitutional lawyer on board. I have nothing against Mr. Willett. He's not a constitutional lawyer. And I believe that we should be ready to file an injunction should they start building the fence, stop this until we meet with Secretary Napolitano, which is scheduled to meet with TBC, I think, early March. And the city, they say, late February. And I would be at both meetings. But until we know more, I think we should not enter into an agreement. That's why the opposition was here. And until we see an actual contract also that's finalized also, because I think this thing should have never even been on the table to begin with right now at this time.
Okay, and I guess Commissioner Atkinson had asked me a question earlier about construction of the, well, I shouldn't say construction, the continuation of the wildlife corridor along the Rio Grande from Falcon Dam to the mouth of the Rio Grande, which myself and other people in the audience have been a big proponent of it. And I know about 15 years ago, I sat down with the mayor of Brownsville, maybe at that time it was Nacho Garza, and we met with the Border Patrol, the men in green that are standing in the back of the room tonight, and the chief of police of Brownsville. And we talked, and we tried to work out issues such how are they going to secure the border at that time, and how are we going to construct a wildlife corridor with, at that time, 9 and 10 bridges proposed in a stretch of 100 miles. And, you know, there's always room for negotiation, but we also had the courtroom behind us. I mean, we didn't have to deal with a waiver of laws, and we were guaranteed our rights under the Constitution. And so I think that any of these projects going forward, whether it's a wall or another bridge or a river walk or something like that, we need to be able to try to accommodate a strip of land for wildlife in order to continue the wildlife corridor. That's all I have.
Mary Wood, I think, first of all, we should protect all the wildlife corridor that we have now, and any negotiations that the city may enter to is going to affect that, and it's going to affect all the landowners. So I think we should not look at ourselves only as the parties. We should, because we are elected officials, we do, in essence, represent the landowners and you and everybody in the wildlife movement and the ecological corridor. I caution this commission that we not enter into any agreement without bringing the parties together and bring transparency, make sure everybody knows what's going to happen and how it will affect them. Because I think what was going on today, and you heard it from Mr. Manette, yeah, there was a deal here that directly dealt with the city, but it was excluding Mr. Manette, who was a larger landholder than the city. And I think that's unfair, because he is part of the city, and we represent him. We should have never let this contract even enter into this arena right here.
And I think when the DHS is talking about a 60-foot right-of-way, I mean, you're talking about, it may not sound like a lot, but when you start building roads and highways and everything like that, and look at the
DHS is doing. If they can get the city to agree to this, you know, in one part, then the rest will follow. They'll fall. You know, they cut out one at a time, and they keep us all separate. We need to be united in this, not talk individually, just on our best interest or whatever.
Right.
Or the media show.
Well, and there was an agreement made 15 years or so ago where IBWC, when they were mowing, and we actually took them to court and got them to do their Section 7 consultation with Fish and Wildlife Service on endangered species and preserving a strip of land. And Fish and Wildlife folks came up with a decided more or less how much they would need, how much land would be viable to help continue a healthy population of...
Can you read that letter that I gave you?
Uh-huh.
So people can know what we're
endangered
getting.
Species.
Can you...
Well, I mean, that's a big question, because this woman apparently has
Can you read it?
Not... Commissioner Atkinson presented some communication between Larissa Ford, who's with the Fish and Wildlife Service, and Peter Goodman, who's with the city, and she's basically saying that they don't believe that the wildlife openings are appropriate in this section, but I don't know which section she's talking about.
The section's in question.
019. In this section of fence, because of the limited nature of wildlife habitat in this particular section, and because there is no existing habitat north of the proposed fence in this particular section.
So
that may be true. I mean, I'd have to go back and look at some of the old environmental assessments that were made when we were dealing with some of the bridge construction and everything like that. This woman's fairly new to the area, and I just don't know. She's probably right when you're talking about down at Hope Park, but there's room for a corridor down there. There's room for a wildlife corridor down there. If DHS doesn't, I mean, they've already done a lot of damage down there with going back and forth with their ATVs and things like that. But I think that's something that needs to be talked about when you meet with them.
Thank you, Mary Wood.
And if you need people to be involved in that, you can give me a call.
Thank you, Mary Wood.
Okay, thanks.
And thank you, City Commission, for being united on this issue. Can I have a motion to close the public hearing?
So moved.
Motion and a second. All in favor?
To speak.
Oh, I'm sorry. Didn't see you though.
Good evening, gentlemen. I know it's a long night. Thank you for letting me speak real quick. I wanted to thank you all very, very much as a property owner and a citizen of Brownsville and resident of Brownsville. Thank you so much for allowing everybody, whether you live here in Brownsville or don't live here in Brownsville, I guess, to be able to speak here in front of you all. I know that you all took some shots tonight that maybe was not fair. Having a united front is a good thing, and I know that at times that you commissioners it seems to be against the mayor, or the mayor more so sometimes being against you all. And the fact that 6 of you all were able to get together, whether or not Charlie Atkinson is a DHS employee, although I would disagree with you, I think the mayor might actually be right that maybe you should recuse yourself, only because, that's just my opinion as DHS employee.
We didn't have to worry about that.
I know, but I know that there's 5 other people who can do what you all are doing. But I thank you for everybody allowing people to speak. Huh?
6 other people.
6 other people? No, well, the mayor is fighting all the time, he's like his own person sometimes.
Please go ahead.
But I want to remind you that there are some people in this community who are actually in favor of the fence, and some people spoke here. And sometimes there's this whole idea, and I know I read in the paper that everybody is against the fence, and everybody is. There's actually a lot of people who don't care, honestly, and you know that. But I want to make sure you know that. There are some people who are indifferent, like, build it, who cares, it's not going to bother me. And I know that I live very close by to Commissioner Longoria, so this fence will affect me. But if you all are going to make this deal, and if it is true that the levee will be part of this deal, building that levee will protect my property, and it will protect Commissioner Longoria's property from potential flooding. So if you all have to make that exchange, it might be beneficial. Whether or not we can afford to pay it is another story, and I'm hoping that these commissioners, if that is part of the deal, will come up with some sort of plan. So that 10 years down the road, whenever East Loop is built, I know one commissioner mentioned to me, Commissioner Camarillo said something about 18 months shorter from getting this East Loop built, which will be beneficial to me and beneficial to a lot of people in Southmost. That you all realize, don't pass the buck. Don't say 10 years down the road, we'll figure out how we're going to pay for this levy. Maybe bring it down to the table. And I appreciate your call for transparency and the fact that you all have litigation. It totally makes sense for you all to have some sort of secrecy, I guess. Not because there's a police state, because you are in litigation against DHS. I feel that if President Obama, when President Obama was senator, he voted for the border fence. If he was truly in favor of getting rid of the border fence, he might have actually had some sort of executive order to do some moratorium like he did with Gitmo or like we did with other things and changing what President Bush had done. So we must remember this. But when you all go to Washington, remember there are some people who are different, some people want the wall, and there seems to be a lot of people who are in favor, or who definitely don't want the wall, some people who want the wall. But you represent me as a voter. You represent the voters of the citizens of Brownsville. You don't represent people who live in Eagle Pass or the people who live in Del Rio, live in McAllen, and all those people. You represent me and other voters. So when you go over there, remember that. Whether or not they are happy with what your decision is, ultimately your decision rests with whatever the voters of this city have wanted you to do. So I thank you so very, very much. I really do. Thank you.
Thank
you, Mr. Perez. And I want to assure the citizens that now that the city manager is going to email me when the meetings are, I will keep the citizens informed of any negotiations that's going on. Thank you.
We also
go ahead.
Well,
before
keep
you
the
talk, can I
public
say one thing?
informed.
Sure.
All I'm going to say is, I appreciate all the new people that came here today to oppose this wall, as opposed to the constant same people that have been here in the past. And I was quoted on the Real Garden to say the mayor usually has his little entourage of local churchgoers, the same ones that come and sit in the first 2 rows. I'm just glad to see new people came in today to oppose the wall and not the same ones that are always here at our meetings.
Please.
Good evening, Mayor, Commissioners. I just like, a lot of it has been said tonight, and I think everybody who has spoken tonight has had something good to say. But one of the things that just struck me a few minutes ago is that everybody is, this meeting mostly, it seems like it's for or against the fence, and I'm not going to speak on that. I am impacted greatly by that. But what I want to ask all of you as leaders in this community, when you go when you make your decisions on what you're doing, seems to me from what I've heard tonight and on other times, there is one group of people that quite frequently is at the very, very bottom of learning anything or hearing anything, and that's the landowners themselves. I hear plans being made for the fence, and there have been problems with that, where business has been considered, politicians have been considered, and other people, and not always was the landowner informed. But I also know, well, I have to say something. I have to say that I do agree with what the Border Patrol is trying to do. I don't agree necessarily with the fence, but I praise them for the job that they are doing for our country. But the thing that got me to stand up here tonight was listening about other plans. Everybody has something that they want to do with somebody else's land. You talk about the wildlife corridor, and the wildlife are there anyway. They don't care who owns the land. But on the farm that my family has owned for a number of years, we've been under assault for many years now, not just because of a fence, not just because of city planners who want to annex our land. There have been several different entities, and as much as I am for wildlife, I resent people who who are, in my book, kind of hypocritical by talking against somebody else usurping land for a fence project that they want, but by the same token saying, let's take the land for the wildlife. If you are going to consider this wildlife corridor and talk about it, remember that corridor goes across private property. It's not public property, it is private. And so when you make decisions about what you want to do to allow somebody else to do, don't forget the person on whose property you are talking. For crying out loud, include them. Let them have their say and see what that impact is going to do to those individual landowners, rather than a grand scheme that somebody envisions upon somebody else's property. And that's all I wanted to do,
And I think we said
gentlemen,
that
is
here,
please consider the people who own the land on which you are making your decisions. That's it.
Yes,
Thank
ma'am.
you.
And I wanted to let you know that I think we said that here, that we want to include the landowners that were not being included before. And I think the Texas Border Coalition said there, in some areas fences do make sense, in some areas it doesn't. So we're here to work with you as far as I'm concerned, okay?
There are some people who want to work with landowners, and there are some people who seem to forget that, so I'm just
And that's 'cause I think
reminding
it's important.
that all the decisions that you make impact other people. And no, I mean, there's all kinds of people and all kinds of land and everything else, and you can't just go to every single individual. Time doesn't allow that. I understand that. But just remember, when you do make decisions, that you are impacting somebody else's life. You shoulder that responsibility when you impact somebody and you haven't let them know that you are doing something that is going to dramatically change their life and take something away from them. Don't walk around them. And that's all I ask.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And maybe Homeland Security will hear that, to include the landowners as we've asked them to do, and because sometimes we don't know who the landowners are. Thank you. Okay, we have a motion and a
Wait,
second.
I'd like
close
to make a
public
comment,
hearing.
if I could.
You want to say something?
Yeah, I just simply want to thank everybody for coming out and making your comments tonight. For everybody that couldn't make it and tried to reach us, thank you for your efforts and for the emails and for the phone calls to try and communicate with me. I'm always available, whatever you need. Just want to, once again, thank everybody we are listening to your comments, and thank you for making them.
Thank you, Commissioner. We have a motion, second. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries.
Vote adjourned.
Second. Adjourned. Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.